It's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes. It's in reference to a grant application. The superstars are in the house. We're going to get together and recognize your accomplishments here in just a minute. Just so proud of you guys, and thanks for taking the time to be here and us giving you the recognition that you and your coaches deserve. I know State Representative Rick Stark is in the house. I believe the sheriff is, Rick Stark is in the back. I believe the sheriff is going to be here. So we've got a lot of exciting things going on in the town of Southwest Ranches tonight. So with that being said, let's call this meeting to order. Again, it's a sole purpose meeting regarding a grant application. Erica, if you call the roll, please.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
Here.
Councilmember McKay.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Here.
Mayor Nelson.
Here, we all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Andy, you want to do the introductions?
Yes, Mayor. Sorry, I thought I was having microphone difficulties. Yeah, this is a single-purpose meeting for the purpose of going after a FERDAP grant, and Emily McCord has a brief presentation to share with you, so if I may turn the floor over to Emily.
Good to see you, Emily.
No.
Bingo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Emily McCord.
Still
and I-
can't hear you. Pull it up a little closer. There you
Good
go.
evening, Mayor and Council. Third time's the charm. My name is Emily McCord, and I am your grant writer. And there's a grant opportunity from the state of Florida. As Andy mentioned, it's a FERDAP grant. FERDAP, unfortunately, has not been funded in the last 5 years, except for this past year, which the legislature funded only projects that were less than $50,000. FERDAP grants are for the development of parks, and as you all know, we have several parks in the town that we have grant requirements for. And we have been working diligently on the Fishing Hole Park, and as you all know, it's under construction. And we have shown good faith with that park, with our 2 granting agencies, that we're moving forward. But staff feels that we need to show a good faith effort in our other parks. And as you know, we bought the Southwest Meadows Sanctuary and Calusa Corners. Our granting agency views them as one park. That's at the intersection of Dykes and Griffin Road. So staff has come together and decided on a plan to potentially go after this grant with your authorization for a $50,000 grant for minimal improvements to the park. As you know, right now it's undeveloped, but this would offer a very small playground, a very small picnic shelter, and some parking improvements. But even with these small, features, it will show tremendous effort as far as meeting our grant requirements. So if you have any questions or concerns, I'm available to
Mayor, I may add.
Go ahead, Andy.
I'll just say to you that when staff originally presented this grant opportunity to me, I said absolutely not, and dismissed it out of hand, because I was very concerned with a further commitment of town tax dollars and resources for this park. And the reason it's before you tonight, which is, and I know Emily has said this as well, there's no town match requirement. So this allows us to meet some of our minimum requirements on Calusa Corners and get that park opened without a town financial commitment as far as the park development itself. It is minimal, but it does allow us to meet those grant requirements without town expense.
Another important thing to note is we would not be awarded this until next July, so this would impact our 2015 budget.
Great.
You
Council?
looking for a motion?
Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item?
The Parks Board had her present it to us, and we were unanimous in supporting it because it's important that we do something on that Calusa Corners. As far as your maintenance on that, we're already mowing it. And it's bare bone minimum, but we will meet our requirements. So, thank you.
Very good, Gay, thank you. Any other members of the public wish to comment on this item? See no further public comment. This item is now closed. Council, I know we have a motion to second approve. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Freddie?
Well, just briefly, I kind of talked about this whole subject at the budget hearing, and, you know, it's where we're heading with these parks. It's at $50,000, and you had a little bit of experience with the Fishing Hole Park. We couldn't even, just the equipment for the playground was $100,000, so I know, I'm against it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Again, we have a motion and a second for approval. Call the question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
No,
Councilmember McKay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. I see we have about 4 minutes. I know it's a published meeting too, Keith, and we really can't start the regular meeting until 7 o'clock, so maybe we'll take a 3 or 4 minute break, and then we'll start the public meeting here in about 4 minutes at 7 o'clock and recognize these superstars and accomplishments you guys will have and remember for the rest of your life. So proud of you guys. Can't wait to recognize you. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, only because we have to. This meeting to order. Good evening, council, members of the staff, and again to our super studs from Archbishop McCarthy, who set a precedent that hasn't been matched. Win 4 straight state championship state baseball championships. We're so proud of that. And members of the public, thanks so much for coming. And again, State Representative Rick Stark is in the back. Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here. Always very, very helpful and assist us with a multitude of things. And I think the sheriff is also going to be here tonight. So we're excited and anxious to see him as well. So with that being said, this is the start of the public hearing. Erica, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
here.
Councilmember McKay.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Here.
Mayor Nelson.
Here. We all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a great night in the town of Southwest Ranches, and as you see these wonderful young men up here in their white uniforms being worn very proudly, and there's a reason for that, obviously. The Archbishop McCarthy baseball team, in case you didn't know, I suspect you probably did because there's been a lot of publicity about that, both in the state of Florida and nationally about this accomplishment here in the state of Florida. Again, 4 state championships. And Vice Mayor and council members, I know that we're just excited about having you in the House and so proud of having an opportunity to recognize this feat. And I know that several of the coaches are here as well. So what I like to do, I talk to head coach Rick Bielski. If I mispronounced, where's Rick? If I mispronounced your last name, I sincerely apologize. What we'd like to do, we're going to come down, if that's okay with you, and call you up, Rick. I know Alex Fernandez, the Director of Baseball Operations, is here, and assistant coach Rick Butner. Nelson Santavena, I know, was also an assistant coach. Eugenio Abe and Chris Vasquez were also assistant coaches. We want to recognize the outstanding accomplishments. I know it takes a tremendous amount of time and effort to develop these kids, this program, and to accomplish something as unprecedented as 4 state championships. So if it's all right with you, if I can get you to come up, coaches. I know that Athletic Director Tony Macero is also here. I saw him earlier. So if we can get him to come up as well. And if I can get the Vice Mayor and Council to come up here and stand next to me, I would appreciate it. And then, Coach, if we can call them up individually, that would be great as well. But we've got a special presentation for you first. I'm going to need that. That's okay. You can leave it right there. I'm going to need that mic, but that's okay. I'll come over there. all I can say is greatness, you know, just absolute greatness. It's great to be in the house with this wonderfully talented, committed, and dedicated coaching staff and very good friends. And Alex, I've known for some time, and you know what you've done to that program and how that's evolved as a result of you going over there, and I know how appreciative they are, and it's just unbelievable. So proud of you and your in your program. We have a special presentation here. We don't give many of these away. These are very, very rare, you know, quite frankly. And this is such a wonderful and unique scenario. It's just an honor to give you a key to the town of Southwest Ranches. And also, if I may, for the record, read the proclamation, because we've established a day in the town of Southwest Ranches for you and your players that will never go away. And so we hope that you'll hang this someplace and look at it often and inspire you maybe to come up with your 5th win next year. So you keep building on this legacy, but so proud of you and these young men. We're going to get you to come up here in just a minute as well. Proclamation of the town of Southwest Ranches, whereas in 1998, Archbishop McCarthy High School was opened in the town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, and whereas Archbishop McCarthy High School is sponsored by the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Miami and is named after the second Archbishop of Miami, Edward A. McCarthy, and whereas Archbishop McCarthy High School mascot is the Maverick, and he's a lot of fun to watch on the sidelines, and whereas the Mavericks baseball team finished with a record of 26 wins and 5 losses, and whereas 3 state titles later, again, 3 state titles later, the Mavericks have become the first Florida high school baseball team to win 4 state titles in a row. I've got more to say, but that deserves a round of applause. And whereas the town recognized the Mavericks' outstanding baseball team as they won their 4th consecutive state Class 6A championship title, and whereas the team is led by head coach Richard Belsky, director of baseball operations Alex the Hat Fernandez, assistant coaches Nelson Santavena, Rick Butner, Eugenio Abey, and Chris Vasquez, athletic trainers Jackie Gonzalez and Marshall Ho, strength coach Joe Jacoby, and whereas the champion players, and coach, I'm going to leave that up to you, if you'll call them up individually so we can recognize them as well, that it therefore be proclaimed by the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, in honor of Archbishop McCarthy Mavericks baseball team's outstanding record, good sportsmanship, on behalf of the town of Southwest Ranches and its citizens, and recognizing this unprecedented achievement by winning 4 state championships in a row, that today, August 22nd, 2013, is hereby designated as Mavericks Baseball Team Day in the town of Southwest Ranches, Florida. How about a big round of applause for these coaches and these players?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and the town of Southwest Ranches for recognizing our accomplishment, and I'd like to recognize these young men. Each year that we've won states, there's been that high expectations the following year to fill some big shoes, and every year we've had some amazing senior classes. In fact, last year we had 4 players drafted in the Major League Draft and a tremendous senior class. And this year's team had some of the biggest shoes to fill and some of the biggest expectations to meet. And myself, the other coaches, and obviously, you know, the town of Southwest Ranches are very proud of them. So instead of me actually bringing them up individually, I'm just going to have them come up and say their name, give them a round of applause, and they can go through the line. And we'll start with our first left-handed pitcher here.
Aaron Soto. Alex Rodriguez. Andres Nunez. Eddie Silva.
Blade Bielski.
Alex Guzman.
Andrew Dahl.
Anthony Crosby.
Robert Bamford.
Alex Alfonso.
Andres Mathieu.
Dylan Bautista. Ryan Cincinnati.
Christian Stampler.
Again, very, very proud of these young men. They've really contributed to setting Florida history, something that has really never been accomplished before. State championships have been won, and some teams have even gone back-to-back, or we actually shared the record last year by winning 3 in a row. But now, with the 4th one, we have set ourselves apart as the only team in the state of Florida to accomplish 4 state championships, and we look forward to another great season this year. We're expected to be ranked nationally and be very well known on the national level again this year. As you can see, we have quite a few excellent and good-looking ball players coming back for this year, so we are excited again. Thank you very much for having us. Guys, come on up. We're going to have a team picture here in the front. Come on up.
Congratulations again. Archbishop McCarthy High School, 4-time state champs in the town of Southwest Ranches. One more big round of applause.
Hey, you can come over here. Get in here. You make me look tall.
I'm going to stand on the chair. Good idea, you guys, to put all these chairs back when we're done, right? All right, everybody looking this way? Look at me and smile, big smile. You guys are the champions. Fantastic. Thank you.
We going back now?
Mayor, how about you and the coaches? Yeah, coaches, right in there. Thank you. Coaches, come on in. Come on, you guys, get right here.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Coaches. Get in here. Get in here again. Hey, appreciate it. All right.
All right, back down in front.
Back here. Freddie, Freddie, get over here.
Well, just ask Tom. Hey, how are you? I take hundreds, so I can't email them to you at all. All right. Everybody looking this way? Freddie, all right, we got everybody. That way. Thank you.
Going down.
Tony, thank you. Appreciate you coming over. You guys, Jeff said give them something nice, so we did our best. No, it's, we wanted something you guys would hang with. I'm looking forward to 5. Go for 5 hours?
Okay, I'm getting ready to call Danielle up. Vice Mayor and council members, come on up here for this as well. Turn around the other way.
Coach, thank you.
We all know the importance of volunteerism, and these young men and ladies that we're getting ready to recognize have been here for quite some time. In fact, any time during the summer months when I have a little bit of flexibility away from the other hat that I wear. They were always here. They were always with big smiles on their face. They couldn't do enough to help, to support, and to assist. And there was a lot of things we were able to accomplish as a result of them being here, taking the time to assist us here at the town of Southwest Ranches. So with that being said, I know, Danielle, you have something special to say, but again, thank you all. Can't tell you how much we appreciate the time and that you dedicated. We accomplished a lot of things, and without you, there's a lot of things that we wouldn't have been able to accomplish. But it was great to have you, and hopefully that being here as a volunteer also puts you in a position of maybe better understanding the public service part and component. But thank you guys very, very much. So with that being said, Danielle.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members of the public. On behalf of town staff, I would like to sincerely thank all of our student volunteers that are here today. Your efforts and time spent are greatly appreciated. Our wonderful volunteers assist the town in providing greater service and play a role in our overall success. Without even realizing it, you are all learning how to become even brighter prospects for the future. Thank you to all of you for enlightening us with your assistance, charming dispositions, and dedication. I am proud of all of you. Please know you are all welcome to return anytime. Thank you again. Deshawn Demarier. Cheyenne Demarier. And Eduardo Caballero.
Open those up so we can see the certificates. Fold back the top part, perfect. And hold them up so we can see it. All right. Everybody's smiling. Gary's smiling.
Sure. Sheriff, you got a tough act to follow, I'll tell you that. That's probably one of the, it's the most rewarding thing that we can involve ourselves with, and that's to be here with these young men and women and be a part of this, to watch them grow, to watch them mature and be part of a process and accomplish, unprecedented things such as the Archbishop baseball team did. So proud of them. And I don't remember who said this, but certainly it would apply that these young ladies and gentlemen are the world's most valuable resources, because you guys are the ones that are going to predict the future, our future, and everyone's future. And knowing that, I can tell you that the future looks very, very bright, that's for sure. Okay, so with that being said, we are pleased and honored that the Sheriff Scott Israel, is here tonight to tell us all kinds of great things, Sheriff, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to ask a few questions as well, because we look forward to, we're in contract negotiations, and we look forward to a long-term relationship with you as well, hopefully. So with that being said, Sheriff, it's a pleasure, it's an honor. Thanks so much for being here, and the floor, sir, is all yours.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here as well. I want to start off, you say I have a tough act to follow, and you're absolutely right. But I've always said the proudest thing I do each day is I'm a high school football coach over at Stoneman Douglas, and we have our kickoff classic tomorrow. So it's all about spending time with these kids, and what these kids are doing here this is sensational. And wherever else your agenda goes tonight, it's not going to be as good as what you just did. So I commend you all. I wanted to just tell you, it is an honor for me to be here, and to the community, thank you for being here. Before I go into what I wanted to say and maybe answer some questions, I'm hoping that the citizens and the residents that here will join me in giving an unbelievable round of applause to the phenomenal deputies and posse members who are here tonight that keep these streets safe. So. We brought our command staff here tonight. Our Undersheriff, Stephen Kinsey, is here. Our Lieutenant Colonel of Operations, Bob Drago's here, along with, of course, your captain. And one of our attorneys are here, so if there are any contractual issues, we'll be able to answer them as well. The first 7 months or 8 months of my administration has been abundantly successful. I couldn't have planned it any better, and it's due to the unbelievable work of the men and women that serve on this agency. If I've done anything right, it's my ability to team build. We put a team together, and I would tell you that there's no public safety entity in South Florida, certainly in Broward County, that could provide detention, fire, and police services like the Broward Sheriff's Office. And we hope you'll be a long-time client of ours and customer of ours is probably a better way to say it. We want to be the vendor of Southwest Ranches for the next, 100 years. We've designed 2 goals, and we're staying true to these 2 goals. One is we have a civil citation program, and Mayor, it's going to mirror just what you did tonight with your kids. Our civil citation program is a mandate from me to all the deputies at the Broward Sheriff's Office, directing them that if you come in contact with a young child, a juvenile under the age of 18, for a misdemeanor offense, and it's the first misdemeanor offense of that child's life, our deputies are not allowed to arrest that individual. That individual must be funneled into a civil citation program where they have a chance to get into diversion programs, rehabilitative programs, mental health programs, whatever that child needs to stay out of jail. We measure our success at the Broward Sheriff's Office by the young people we keep out of jail, not the young people we put in jail. Last year, the last year of my predecessor's term, the Broward Sheriff's Office issued 68 civil citations. This year, we're over 200, and we're on pace to issue 5 times that amount. So now you have young people getting opportunities not to go to jail. Why is that important? Well, it's important not only for the life and well-being of that family and that child, but financially. Gentlemen, lady, it costs $50,000 a year. $50,000 a year to keep a young child in jail. $4,800 to keep a kid in school. We need our kids in schools, not jails. And that's what this is all about. And it's been successful and continues to be successful. But on the same token, Southwest Ranches and every other contract city pays us to make sure you're safe and secure. Police departments, public safety entities exist for 2 reasons and 2 reasons alone. One is to enhance the quality of life of the individuals who live in the city, and the other is to flat out reduce crime. So what we've done is, as I had time, as you might remember, I didn't get in the building right away, so I had too much time on my hands. So we used intelligent-led policing, and I identified the fact that, you know what, we don't have enough manpower, enough assets, and enough time to go after every person who's committed a felony and has not been brought to justice. So what we decided to do, or I decided to do, is go after the 6% of the criminals in Broward County that are committing 65 to 69% of our violent crimes. So we're going after people. We're going after pedophiles, rapists, murderers, armed robbers, people who use firearms in the commission of felonies, the most violent people in our county. That's who this Viper Squad is going after. Are we successful? In the 5.5 months of the program, we've arrested over 300 people, and in arresting those 300 people, we've seized 37 either handguns, rifles, or shotguns, and we continue to do that. So we have a holistic approach to kids. We believe in mental health issues. We believe in rehabilitation and diversion, but we're also hunting down the most violent felons, and we continue to do that. We are involved in negotiations with Southwest Ranches. I'm here to answer any questions tonight that you may have. I also noticed on your agenda, I think 15 or item 16, that the city of Southwest Ranches is looking for an opinion from the Attorney General about whether you to go to a congruent or adjacent city to provide law enforcement. I hope that doesn't happen. We hope to be, to work out a fantastic contract and be your provider. But if it does happen, I can assure you that the transition will be seamless. We will work very hard with Southwest Ranches to, whether it's Navy or any other police department, to make it work for you. Again, we hope that doesn't happen, but let me be abundantly clear. We are going to provide this county with revenue-neutral contracts. Cities are going to pay for the law enforcement, fire, and detention they get. For the last couple of years, you in Southwest Ranches, as taxpayers, whether you know it or not, and myself as a taxpayer in Parkland, our money has been going to subsidize other cities in Broward County, especially for fire services. And I can't allow that to happen. So we're looking for revenue-neutral contracts that make sense for Southwest Ranches and every other contract city, makes sense for the Broward Sheriff's Office. And again, regardless of what agency you settle on to do your policing and your public safety, this I could say with certainty. There is not, this is the third department that I've had the honor of being part of. You cannot have a more talented group of men and women who are committed to the success and the safety of the public than the men and women that I've met over the last year at the Broward Sheriff's Office. They are second to none. I'm not saying that because I'm wearing green and white. I'm saying that because it's the truth. And I'll answer any questions now.
Thank you, Sheriff. Again, can't thank you enough for being here. It's probably not the best time to sit here and debate and talk about the contract. I think a lot of the things that need to be said are probably better said behind closed doors as part of a negotiating session. But as you had just mentioned, item number 15 or 16, that's a part of this agenda. I must tell you that one of the reasons that that's something that's even being contemplated, because the initial proposal that was submitted by your department, I can tell you, let me go back a little bit. The health, safety, and welfare of our residents is number one. Nothing else matters, obviously. But from the perspective of the initial contract proposal, it was almost $1 million more than last year. And while there has been some recommendations for some additional personnel and things, I can tell you the town of Southwest Ranches that operates on a little bit over a $9 million budget, when we looked at it, we looked at each other and said, what are we going to do? How do we address this? How do we look at it? And from our perspective, there wasn't a lot of options. So, things have a tendency to get better. It's the old economics 101. When you have an opportunity to negotiate a contract with more than one entity, we all know what monopoly means. Things have a tendency to go better with regards to the negotiation process. And don't get me wrong, we love BSO. You do a great job. No question about it. I mean, there's some things, obviously, that we would like to reconcile, but again, the best place to reconcile those things are behind closed doors, and in negotiations. This isn't the right forum or the format to do that. But, and I know that the council probably has some questions for you, but all we want is, from you is a commitment that sometime in the near future that we're going to begin, very serious and committed negotiations moving forward, because, it's time. This is, it's time. Our budget is finished September the 30th, and, as a result of, and we just went through our first budget workshop, and, not only we talk about this, but Freddie is talking about our park commitments. From a financial perspective, our resources are limited, and limited being that you want to be fiscally responsible, and also from a taxing scenario, we don't want to, put our residents in a position where it becomes so expensive that it makes it very, very difficult on the average homeowner. So what I'm asking for, and I see your staff here, is that a commitment that sometime here in the very near future that we're going to commence some serious negotiations. And again, I have a lot of questions and concerns, some things that have transpired, but it's better in a negotiating table with hopefully you sitting across from us. And I think that that's the appropriate venue and location. But we just want a commitment from you, your staff, that sometime in the very near future that we're going to be able to sit down and have some very constructive, intense, it's going to take some time, negotiations moving forward, so that you learn from us, from where we come from, our perspective, and some of the concerns that we have. And I hear what you're saying. I read in the newspaper. I know the negotiations that you're going through with the county commission. I see the difference between what you generate in your contracts and what is subsidized outside of what you generate in revenue from your contracts. I understand that. But, and I heard you say revenue neutral. I heard that as well. But I can just tell you from the perspective of the town of Southwest Ranches, that initial proposal that was thrown out there will break the town of Southwest Ranches. And we're just not in a position to absorb another $1 million increase, especially when we're talking about a contract that right now is a little bit over $2 million.
Mayor Nelson, you couldn't put it more succinctly and more correct. I understand you're dealing with a finite amount of money, and this isn't the place to negotiate. But one of our members of our general council is here tonight, Stephen Muffler. He will relay back to Ron Gunsberger, our general counsel, how important it is to begin fruitful negotiations immediately. There are some things that FRS insurances that went up that are beyond our control, that we have no control of. I know there's been discussion about personnel, and those are areas that we certainly need to talk and have the town administrator make some decisions. We certainly we know our command staff that's here tonight. There are levels that we can't go below. It becomes unsafe for our deputies. So we will not go below those levels and make it unsafe for our deputies under any circumstances. I know you don't want that. The public doesn't want that. So we will not do that. The other thing is that the town of Southwest Ranches, again, is a wonderful, wonderful place for our men, and our deputies love working here. They choose to work here. And I hope, I hope the contract, I hope we work this contract out. But again, the numbers are the numbers, and I want to clearly say here, you do see the issues I have with the county. We're dealing with a finite amount of budget here, and the numbers will be put in front of the town administrator, your financial people to look at. But again, under no circumstances will we deal with any contracts during my administration that are not revenue neutral. So wherever that takes us, it takes us. I hope it takes us to policing this town for the next 100 years. But we have the same issues financially as the other cities. And again, it's not fair from taxpayers anywhere to pay for police or fire in any other place in the county but their own city. And that's what we're looking to do. That's what we will do, provide revenue neutral contracts. I believe we'll work it out. I'm very, very optimistic. And I'll answer questions from your, the deputy.
Absolutely. Open it up to members of the council. Vice Mayor, thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Sheriff, appreciate you being here.
Thank you,
Really
sir.
appreciate the opportunity to kind of have a dialogue and talk back and forth.
Yes, sir.
I think you know how much we appreciate the services that BSO not only provides now, but has provided for us through the years. It's
Yes,
been
sir.
an exceptional organization that has partnered with us. A number of your deputies have become almost members of our family out here. So it's really been a great partnership
And
over the
Vice
years.
Mayor, they truly feel the same way. They really do.
Good to hear. That's good to hear. That's what it feels like, and that's great. I did want to, while I had the opportunity to have you here, I did want to bring up one thing that is troubling to me, and it has to do with a particular, really a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of years, and that has to do with abuse for horses that have happened here. We had one in particular where a horse out west, in my district out west, was slaughtered. And I have to tell you that I was very, very disappointed in the investigation and how that went on. I think we had a lot of good leads. I think we had potentially the required DNA evidence to solve the case and to bring justice to that case. I think that all the pieces were there. I know the community was very involved. I know the community gave a number of exceptional leads to assist your deputies in pointing them in the right direction. And I'll tell you that I know that your deputies are well-trained. I know they have exceptional equipment. I know that it's a quality organization. But I have to tell you that in this case, I feel like they dropped the ball. And because just recently we found that it went to the state's attorney, and the state's attorney says, hey, we don't even have enough evidence to prosecute here. It's over. It's done. And so I'll turn it over to you for a response. But let me just say one other thing. My real question is this: I want to make sure that number one, there's some accountability for what happened there. Probably one of the single most important, most devastating, let me put it that way, most devastating crimes to this community since I've been on the council. And it breaks my heart to have that happen and feel like we could have brought justice and we didn't. And the second thing is I want to...
Can we respond to the first thing before we go on to the second thing? Would that be okay, sir?
That'd be fine.
Okay, I'm going to, our undersheriff, not only is the undersheriff, but he's in command of our Special Investigations and Criminal Investigations Division, and he has monitored this through. So I think he's going to give you some information that you may or may not have been aware of, and we'll go from there, and then you can have any questions.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, thank you very much. I agree with some of what you said, sir. That initial tragedy happened back in August of 2012. I think that during the initial investigation, there probably were things that should have been done differently, and that's something that we have addressed already through training. I can tell you, I can only speak for the actions that we took once we came on in January, and that was we went down every avenue we could to try to get that case solved, including taking that DNA evidence that you speak of and sending that out to an expert in California, the leading expert in the nation that works at a college out in California to test that DNA. Unfortunately, like you said, the sample size wasn't large enough. They didn't have enough DNA markers to make that conclusive ID that we were all looking for, myself included. And again, that probably goes back to the initial stages of that investigation back in August. As far as what we've done moving forward, again, it's a training issue, and it's an issue for us dealing with the investigators and initial responders and making sure that never, ever happens again. And if, God forbid, we have a tragedy like that, that scene is handled appropriately, that the evidence is collected appropriately, and that we'll never have to come back in front of you and say, hey, this is one that we just couldn't prove. We presented the best possible case that we could. We went down every investigative avenue that we could as a sheriff's department, as far as interrogations, as far as sending out the evidence, re-interviewing witnesses, and at the end of the day, all we can do is present that case to the state attorney. The state attorney, as you know, declined to file charges. I can't speak for them on why they made that decision, but we presented every piece of evidence we could to them.
Thank you. I think that, and I appreciate that, that response. My concern is a couple of thoughts. Number one is, and I understand that a lot has changed since that crime took place, a lot of different players in place, Sheriff. I know you were not in place at that time, and I want that on the record, and I do appreciate that. However, we contract with BSO, and BSO is the organization that we're concerned about, and every organization is always changing. And it's my understanding that really it was at the crime scene where things could have been done better initially. And I don't know what I'm not a law enforcement professional, so I have found that in sitting in this chair, it's best not to tell the professionals how to do their job because they know it much better than I do. However, I will say that I believe that it would be beneficial. We do have the posse, we do have folks that are intimately involved with the types of crimes similar to that, and I believe it would be beneficial to have them more involved in those types of situations. I think they would be more sensitive to the community, and I think they would be have a greater understanding of a lot of the particulars that might assist. And so I throw that out there as a recommendation that I think might be beneficial to consider. But at the end of the day, I would like to know, and not tonight, but I would like to know sometime in the next 30 to 45, what specifically has been done to make sure that does not repeat again. What training really has been done, because I just can't express to you how devastating that crime was to this community. And to know that, I won't repeat myself, but to know that justice could have been done and was not is absolutely unacceptable. And so I just, I want to make sure that this has been taken care of, so that the residents can feel certain that this will not be repeated again. Thank you.
Sure, I can get you that information as far as the training. I will say, too, I talked to Mayor Nelson on a couple of occasions. I had several conversations with Mr. Burns about this, and I gave them my commitment that, God forbid, if this ever happens again, that initial crime scene will be handled differently. You know, if we do something good, we want to do it great. If we do it great, we want to do it exceptional. So the mistakes that were made in the past is something that we've corrected in our minds. Getting the posse involved is something that has already come up in meetings, and having them out there. But you have a commitment. I gave it to your city manager, town administrator, and to you and the mayor, that if that ever happens again, that initial stage investigation, that initial collection of evidence and interviewing of witnesses and identifying suspects is going to be done on a much, much better level than what you saw back in August.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that.
Sorry, Chief.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to add to that, on tonight's presentation, we are going to show our residents and the council some of the things that I have implemented and I have asked to share with you, as well as how we can get our residents involved in assisting us. We have a presentation following the sheriff's presentation that will show you some of the training that I've incorporated with our deputies. So we will be able to better, at least the training aspect, give you more of an indication of some of the steps that we've taken to improve our recognition of animal abuse.
Thank
so
you.
That's forthcoming.
Thank you, Captain. Fantastic. Before I allow you to ask your second question, or you had a second comment, sir, Ms. Benson, Colonel Drago, he will meet with you after this meeting or come up to you. He'll give you 3 meetings for negotiations in September, so you could calendar 3 meetings. Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, we covered, my second one was the training. I wanted to understand that, so thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Doug had his hand up, and then I'll get to you, Gary, and then you, Freddie. Doug.
Sheriff, thanks for coming. Greatly appreciate it. And you guys have a great organization. All of us have hiccups or loops along the way and hurdles to get over to fix and adjust and modify. And I know you were held at bay till the very last minute to get in to start your job when you were elected and put in. So I know you had some extenuating circumstances to get things done. But a couple of things. One of my questions is, now that the county has agreed to fund the E911, the expense has been factored in previous agreement. Now that the county is underwriting the cost of the E911, how much in the contract price reduced might reflect the savings to the town of Southwest?
Well, you'll be negotiating with the county. You won't be negotiating with the Broward Sheriff's Office. All your negotiations will be with the county administrator, and we will be the subcontractor of the county administrator.
Okay, I guess Andy will handle that as far as the way that gets executed. But I was more looking at, since the county's funding that section of it, and it was in the contract through you all last time, that it should be reduced on that side for us, is what I was looking at, so.
Mayor, if I may? Go ahead, Andy. That's an item that's on our agenda for later this evening. The county will be underwriting the cost of the emergency 911 communications. Previously, that was something that was provided by BSO as per the terms of our contract. That expense, I think that's what the council member is referring to, will be underwritten by the county and not by the municipalities. County is going to reluctantly, I'll say, took on that responsibility and will underwrite the cost for the emergency 911 services.
Okay, and I had one other one, if I may. A few weeks ago, 2 horses were removed from the town of Southwest Ranches. One of them were euthanized. What is the status of that investigation?
The last update I got that on that investigation, as you know, the one horse did have to be euthanized based on the malnourishment. The second one, the last update I got, which wasn't today, it was probably yesterday or the day before, was that the second one was still being nursed back to health. So I don't know exactly the status of the horse. I'll tell you, it's great, it's good. I can find out and get that information to you tomorrow morning, though.
Okay, if you could get it to the administrator, I would appreciate it.
I will call Mr. Burns tomorrow.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Doug. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Good evening, Sheriff. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
I want to just say your organization that you had is very dedicated, very outstanding personnel you have, and we've been really lucky. We've had some outstanding commanders throughout the years, and now we have Commander Stuck, and she's great.
Thank you.
Very good. And I just wanted a couple things. One is, on a good note, we recently had a possible animal abuse case out here, and your department handled it with ungodly timing. I mean, with the speed that it was handled, so I just want to mention on a positive note, I was even startled by how fast everything occurred. So I'm looking at it as hopefully as a new day, for lack of a better way of saying it. And unfortunately, the animal, I don't want to get into detail on it, but it was an unfortunate situation.
Yep.
One of the questions I have, though, and I realize you were commenting about revenue neutral and stuff like that regarding the contract prices, and this might fall into the negotiation area, but one of the things that I keep hearing about is that we go down to levels of unacceptable personnel, where like there may be only one deputy at a time because one's transporting or something to that effect. But I also understand that there's deputies that are dedicated to the unincorporated area that are housed out of Weston. And I was wondering what the possibilities were of splitting that up, and would kind of like solve several problems at once, where it's pretty much revenue neutral, because a significant majority of the area they patrol is all around our town. So it'd be kind of a natural thing to do that, where there'd be cost savings on both sides of the equation. I was just wondering if you could address that.
The deputies actually patrol, 90% of their time is patrolling just that, unincorporated areas. They're out in the Everglades, west of 27, the areas we have out there. For a tragedy or something to happen out there and the deputies to come from Southwest Ranches would be, it wouldn't be beneficial to the victim or the person that's injured. The other issue is, what about Parkland, Tamarack, West Park, or the other 17 or 19 contract cities we serve? They would want these unincorporated deputies to be in their areas as well. The deputies are supervised. They are supervised by Western, by the sergeants and the command staff from the city of Weston. But the deputies themselves are assigned to the unincorporated areas. They patrol the unincorporated areas. And for them to count as manpower in Southwest Ranches, and again, that's for discussions with our staff and Mr. Burns in the coming weeks, but that's probably not going to be able to happen.
I just want to finally say that, I'll close on this note. We have a lot of the posse, the amount of patrol, we have a lot of expertise in our town regarding equestrian and animals, and I think they're being underutilized. And I know we're going to go into a presentation here in a little bit, and I would really like you to consider,
Well,
that trust, that brain trust
You
is
know,
out there, and we're not using it.
That's a great point. I don't know what, to what level that underutilization is. For example, Vice Mayor, I don't really know if even if they had expertise in the area of an animal cruelty case, we're going to the scene. They're not on duty. We have to collect evidence as soon as possible, and you'll see more of that tonight. But Captain Jordan, could you just stand up? This is Captain Jan Jordan. Jan had an exemplary career with the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. She's one of the leaders that came on when I became sheriff, and she's part of the team. Jan was in charge of the mounted unit in Fort Lauderdale for many years, so she's experienced in that area. She also runs our youth programs and our outreach programs. So the posse is now under her command, and these are things that we've talked about at meetings that she's going to try and find out, what assets does each member of the posse bring to the table. I've met many of the posse members. I see what they do. I'm very impressed by them. We want to give them an expanded role, and we will certainly look into things such as that.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, Sheriff, again, I want to thank you for coming.
Sir.
Fortunately, I'm probably the only one on the council that was here when the town was started. I was gone for 4 months, 4 years, but I'm back again. But I did have the privilege of being here when we started and see what the startup cost was. And one thing I can say, we got a discrepancy because we're living off of residential income, which is very difficult to do in this day and age. And what happened when we first became a town, you people came in with a price we could not afford. There's no way we could do it. Fortunately, Davy stepped up, and you people come up and come down, and we was able to survive the first couple of years. And the reason I'm saying this is because we're in a position, it's a very good position. We're surrounded by good fire departments and good police departments. You people are all equal. We don't care where we go. We know we're going to get Class 1 service, so that's not a problem. But our problem is how we can do it economically. And it's proven, and it did it in the first year, that if we can take a town like, we're going to be talking about it later, and that's Davie. We actually have more people living in our city limits from Davie than we do our own people. So they consequently have a lot of cars patrolling their own inside our town. So it's economically, probably we could get a better contract because they don't have to. And that's what happened in our first year. We had 2 stations that were already existing, and we operated our fire department out of those 2 stations, which is the economically way. And that's one of the only reasons we're talking to Dave. We know that could be a possibility, and we're probably going to have to look for another town that could do the other half of our fire department, because that's going to be our only survival. We know we got to have the protection, because that's number one with us people. Fortunately, I'm from a fire family. I got a son that retired, and I got 2 grandsons that are presently firemen. And I know they do their
Your
job.
grandsons, what department are they with?
One is Mama Beach, one is in Dade, and the retired one is Dade. And I've known firemen all my life, and I know policemen all my life, and I know all you people are doing a good job. I had an incident just a week ago, about a week and a half ago, and I already talked to our commander about it. My son is a retired fireman. He was down the Keys for a month. His son lives next to him, and he's down the Keys. The alarm goes off in my grandson's house. And they called me from down the Keys. Said, Dad, the alarm went off. By the time I got outside, which was approximately 2-3 minutes, you had 1 unit. In a very short while, you had 2 men on the scene. You did a marvelous job. And I'm not saying that's one of the reasons. We know that no matter where we go, we're going to get good service, but we just got to try to do it as economically as we can. We're not saying you aren't doing a good job, but we just got to look for somebody that, you know, because we've already been told for to do the job that we need, we got to increase your people's service. And that's going to be very difficult on our budget. So that's the reason we're talking about going another department, not because you guys have, I mean, your commander, I talked to her the other day, and all the commanders have been here, and they've been marvelous. All the policemen have been here, they've been great. And it's not that, but we just got to live within our budget.
Commissioner, I understand everything you're saying. I'll make two comments. Well, first of all, Mayor Nelson and the rest of the dais, you're unbelievable leaders. You're fiscally sound people, and you have responsibilities, and you have limited funds, and you have to. I understand that. The one part, and I know you said it respectfully, that you know you're going to get excellent law enforcement. Davey, whoever it is, there's a lot of excellent police departments out there, and I know I'm being recorded, so I'm not saying this to change my mind tomorrow. You'll never ever get the service that the Broward Sheriff's Office could give you. Our SWAT, our helicopters, our training, our leaders. I mean, there is a separation. With all due respect to the other wonderful, wonderful departments, they're great, but we're the best, and we want to stay. We want you to stay with us. As far as a bidding war, we won't get into a bidding war with Davey. We're going to enter into fruitful, robust, honest negotiations with Mr. Burns. We will give him the bottom line price, and if Davey undercuts that price and it makes sense for the city of Southwest Ranches to go with the Davey Police Department, we understand that. We respect that. You will have nothing but the most positive relationships with us. We get it. Again, we're going to give you figures. We hope those figures meet within your budget. We want to be here. Our deputies want to be here. I want us to be here, and we'll just see what happens. But we are going to roll up our sleeves, put pencil to paper, and give you a bottom line figure. It's the same cost that every other city's getting as we move towards revenue neutral contracts. And all I could say is I hope it works for Southwest Ranches, because you're a great city, you're a great dais, great citizens, and we want to keep you. But I'm not willing to subsidize Southwest Ranches with the tax dollars of other cities. And I hope it works out, and I'm optimistic, sir. I truly am.
One more thing before I go, and I can't thank you enough, Sheriff, for being here. It means a tremendous amount, and our doors are always open, and hope that you'll come more often. So we'd love to have you at any time. But I will tell you from my perspective, been involved intimately in the negotiations, and all I'm asking is maybe I can get a commitment from you, because sometimes information that goes from a table that's transmitted to you, it's not what was discussed or talked about at that table. So all I'm asking is half hour, 45 minutes, an hour of your time. It would be preferably at the first meeting, because I have a lot of questions that I have, and again, this isn't the right venue, this isn't the opportunity, it belongs behind closed doors. It's part of the negotiation process, but all I'm asking is if we can get, Mr. Burns can get an hour of your time, so that you have complete understanding, you understand from our perspective where we come. We've put together a lot of information, God bless you, a lot of data to support a lot of the positions that we're going to take, but all too often, unfortunately, and I'm not saying necessarily with you at the helm, I can tell you, but from the past, that once we negotiated and seemed to agree on some things, and there was consensus about the topics that we had discussed, once it got back to the sheriff, that it wasn't anything closely remotely as to what we discussed. So with you in front of us and there and have an opportunity to do that, there won't be anything other than you and us, whoever you want to bring, so that it's on the table, it's clear, it's concise, you know exactly what we're talking about, and then just to go from there. And again, the town of Southwest Ranches will never, ever, ever, the most important service that any municipality can provide is the health, safety, and welfare of its residents.
agree.
So I promise you that we will never, ever sacrifice that. But I will tell you that, you know, and Freddie, everybody up here knows that from our perspective, you know, our finances are limited. And to have an opportunity to negotiate with others certainly puts things into perspective, because, you know, I know that you're right. I'm familiar with your resources. There isn't anybody that can offer, potentially duplicate the things that you offer. Couldn't agree with you more. But I'm not sure that, and we'll see. And having you there will certainly be very, very helpful. And again, we'd certainly love to continue our relationship with you, but having you there would mean a tremendous amount to the negotiations.
Well, Mayor, first of all, you can meet with me, and the commissioners can meet with me anytime. What I'm going to ask Lieutenant Colonel Drago, Bob, what I want you to do is, before the first negotiation session, maybe bring everybody over to our building an hour early, and then we'll come in my office and we'll set the tone of negotiation.
Great.
And have like a pre-negotiating meeting, okay?
Great.
You'll be there with the
Sheriff,
staff.
appreciate that very
so
much.
we'll
Thank you.
We'll definitely do that.
Thank
And
you.
Mayor, to put it in perspective, I think what everybody's saying is this: if, you know, Mayor, if you offered me a sports car and you said, "Hey, Sheriff, I got a sports car I want to sell you. It's worth $200,000, but I'll give it to you for $100,000," and every mechanic in the world says it's worth $200,000, I'd be getting the deal of a lifetime to be able to purchase that vehicle for a half price, for $100,000. The issue is, if I don't have the $100,000, I still can't consummate the deal. And I think what I'm hearing here is, no matter what we give you, if the money is not in the coffers, the deal's not going to happen. And I get it, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. And this is not the, you know, the only city or thing, you know, that we hear that, or other sheriffs aren't hearing throughout the state of Florida. All I could say is, we're going to give you rock bottom prices for the best law enforcement and protection in the country, and I hope it works, and we'll see where negotiations bring us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
Sheriff.
Okay. Next item is item number 6, Animal Abuse Awareness Presentation by Sergeant Daniel Marks.
You can, but they can't on TV, so if you could hold the mic, that
Hold
would
the
be
mic,
helpful.
yeah, just pull it out of the top. There you go.
Try not to start singing. So, okay.
There you go.
I'm going to move around a little bit. I hope I don't confuse anybody or myself here. My name's Dan Marks. I'm a sergeant with Broward County Sheriff's Office. Been in law enforcement about 15 years. Grew up on farms, ranches, competing. It's my passion. We have any horse owners in here? Show of hands. Great. For you, this is just going to be a rerun of everything you know. This is what our deputies are seeing now. And for those of you that aren't livestock or horse-minded folks, this will be great for you, because now you're going to see what our deputies are trained to look for, and you can assist us in the same way. Do I need the little clicker here? Okay, I'm so passionate about this. I grew up out here. I live out here. I used to investigate animal abuse cases. So if I go on and on, just make a weird face or something, and I'll go on and get you guys out of here. All right, I'm going to fly through these. This is just the course that our deputies, the mounted posse, get the opportunity to see. We're going to go over the basic care of horses, signs of abuse and neglect, the investigation, and most importantly, I'm going to touch on the state statutes that we can arrest people, cite people, educate people on. Okay, we all know what a horse looks like, ponies. Here is a chart of the different body parts on a horse. Food. We all know what horses eat. Hay, feed, grain, about 15 to 35 pounds a day. When our deputies or mounted posse go out, what they look for is signs that the horse is being fed. Buckets, hay on the ground, grass on the ground, stuff like that. Water needs to be clean, according to state statute, which we'll get into in a few. Unfortunately, we've seen quite a bit of this with the economy these days. If you're out and about, like our deputies, you see a animal with the visible spine, the head of the tail, bone structure on the withers. If it doesn't look right, call us. And I'll get into the numbers here in a little while. Shelter, according to state statute, our animals, livestock, horses, they need shelter. There's different types of shelter. Some is good, some is bad. These are good examples right here. You can look and see, if you can see the bottom picture, there's nice bedding there, shavings, nice roof. Those are nice barns. It's not the only way to do it, but that is a good example right there. All right, these are poor. It looks like the bottom picture was a garage. They just put a panel in, and the horse is not looking too good there. The ground looks hard. They can develop hoof problems. The paddock on top is, there's no shelter. So according to state statute, you could be arrested technically for that. Veterinary care. Horses need veterinary care, just like our dogs, our cats, and we need medical attention. Infectious disease tests, regular deworming, all stuff that needs to be done. All right. Unfortunately, we run into this all the time too. If you see something like this, call us. Call us. We don't know if it's going to be an education type case or it's going to turn into an investigation. But it will be looked at thoroughly, and the horse will receive medical attention either way. All right, dental care. We go to the dentist all the time. Horses, their teeth grow. Every year it's recommended that they have their teeth floated, which means filed down. Okay, so if we get a call of a skinny or emaciated horse, one of the things our deputies are going to look at is if they can see the teeth, or if there's food on the ground, they can't chew properly and they'll drop food out of their mouth, which could be one of the reasons why that horse is in poor condition. All right, the top, see how they're all even there? And that's a pretty good example right there, because the horse is able to chew and keep the food in its mouth. The bottom speaks for itself. When you're driving your car or truck, you're not going to be able to see something like this unless you go up to a fence and you're petting a horse. The telltale sign's going to be the poor-looking horse. All right, hoof maintenance. This is a big one. Look at those. Look at the hoofs. So many problems can occur if the feet aren't well taken care of. Every 6 to 8 weeks, that's what we do our horses, have them shod and trimmed. I'll show you an example here. That top, that may not be recoverable. Farrier may not be able to address that issue. Unfortunately, there's so many different medical conditions that come from poor hoof care. The bottom, they look a little short to me, but they're nice and round. You could tell that they're manicured, they're trimmed, probably a well taken care of horse. All right, here's the meat and potatoes of it. Florida State Statute 82812. I'm going to read these. If anybody needs any clarification on them, please let me know. Cruelty to animals. A person who unnecessarily overloads, overdrives, torments, deprives of necessary sustenance or shelter, or unnecessarily mutilates or kills any animal, or causes the same to be done, or carries in or upon any vehicle or otherwise any animal in a cruel or inhumane manner, is guilty of a misdemeanor of the first degree. Pretty much speaks for itself. Sorry if I keep cutting in and out. I'm not used to talking on a microphone. 82812 goes on subsection 2, a person who intentionally commits an act to any animal which results in the cruel death or excessive or repeated infliction of unnecessary pain or suffering or causes the same to be done is guilty of a felony of the 3rd degree. Now, these investigations are very, very complex, and they oftentimes involve numerous different entities, such as a vet, a deputy that takes the initial report, a criminal investigator detective. The state attorney often becomes involved, so everybody plays a big role in it. If you're the one that observes this and a deputy comes out, we need to get every last bit of information. One of the last slides, I'll go into quite a bit of detail on it because I'm sure everyone will have some questions on about how to remain anonymous but yet still get the information out there to us. 828.13 is confinement of animals without sufficient food, water, or exercise, and the abandonment of animals. I encourage you to go online and become familiar with these statutes. We see this a lot with the pit bulls. The fighting dogs, they'll keep them in crates with no air, no exchange of air. But also the food, confinement without food and water. You see a skinny horse, that's another charge. Unfortunately, we run into, I'd say 50% of the cases that we respond out to, education fixes it. Either remove the horse. People don't understand you can't feed a horse dog food. And it happens. They don't realize that a horse has to be cared for, their hoofs, the dental care. It's amazing that people would purchase such a large, beautiful animal and not read the handbook on it. But it happens. And that's why it's frustrating to me, because I grew up around horses, to see that. And they just didn't know. There was no ill will or intent to harm that creature. But because they were negligent, it occurred. All right, here we go. I encourage everybody in here to write down those numbers. It's the same Crime Stoppers number, the 493 tips, area code 954, and then our non-emergency line is 954-765-4321. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 backwards, so it's pretty easy. The Colonel had mentioned commitment. I'm seeing a level of commitment over the last 7 months that it's got me excited because I'm an animal lover, and I know everybody here is as well. So just remember that we're committed, and I hope everyone in this room is committed to picking up the phone. Call that number. Give us some details on it. I'll give everybody in here my email address, and you can give it to everybody. If there's an address you want us to check out, we have 50 Mounted Posse members that volunteer their time, and most of them live out here and in West Davie, and they patrol on their horses, and they've been writing down addresses, and we've been giving them to the Captain Stuck, and we're looking at lots of horses out there now, and even if it turns out to be nothing, it could be, and at least we looked into it. And if you want to leave a contact number, we'll get back to you and let you know the outcome of it. All right, what our deputies are working on now is identifying large animal veterinarians within your jurisdiction. We have that locked down. We got a great vet. There's numerous vets out here, and they all do a wonderful job, and most of them will come out at any time of the day or evening for us. We've been working with the large animal rescue organizations, so we have places to take animals when they need to be rescued from the situation they're in. There's not many besides Miami-Dade, who does a fine job with their agriculture unit, working with other animal abuse investigators to find any like trends, whether it's dealing with livestock or horse slaughters or pit bull fighting, any animal type case. All right. Does anybody have any, I tried to make this quick. I could talk all day and all night about each one of these things. I'm not going to do that to y'all. So any questions that I can answer, I'll be more than happy to address. My email address is Daniel_Marks@sheriff.org. It's MARKS is my last name. Daniel_Marks@sheriff.org. And I'm trained. My phone gets emails, and it doesn't matter if I'm in the shower, drinking my coffee, in the ocean fishing, at a rodeo. I'm going to email you back as soon as I get the chance. So feel free to email me. It doesn't matter what time, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Yes, sir.
Come on up, just so we can, just for the record, Bob. Bob Hartman. I can hear you. Good.
441 Southwest 198 Terrace. Are you just responsible for equine abuse or any kinds of animals?
I used to investigate the large animal abuse cases when I was a deputy. I was also assigned to the mounted unit. Deputy Catalano in the back is now in that role, and we have been called upon to come out if any of the deputies, while they're being trained in the basic preliminary investigations, to call us if they have any questions. I'm in charge of the mounted unit right now and the school resource division. So it's a great thing because now we're always around horses. So why not have the horse guys and girls come out and break it down into terms they might understand and what needs to be done. So it's working out great, and we're getting some really good feedback in a really short amount of time. Anybody else?
Sergeant Marks, thank you so much for your time. I think there might be a couple questions up here. Doug, I think you have some questions.
I have a couple. One, I guess, was any of your immediate team involved in that, this severe mess up on this last horse issue?
Some of these questions I rather refer to the captain, but yes, we were there, and our recommendation was to remove the horses immediately.
Okay.
The day they were.
Another question I have is, do you all use the posse presently? Like, I would think that you would use them fairly regularly related to any horse issues at all, especially since they're out here in Southwest Ranches, much less anywhere Davie, Cooper City, because they're all bordering communities. Do you all improvise and use them in that factor when you're looking into stuff? Do you call them out because they're as good as you've got?
Oh, absolutely. Our mounted posse is not only one of the largest in the state of Florida, but they're capable of doing so much. We've been called out for searches for missing juveniles, autistic people, children, elderly folks, and
that's great and wonderful. But aside from that, related to malnourished, injured horses, not medically taken care of or whatever, what's the procedure if you get a phone call? How does that kind of go down? Is the posse involved in that in any way? Because I would think they should be, just because of the nature of the beast.
If myself or Deputy Catalano receives a call, whatever time of day or night it is, we'll respond out there. If it's something that we're going to need the assistance of the mounted posse, say there's 5 loose cows running down Griffin Road, yeah, we're going to have, we'll probably have 5 or 6 mounted posse members there within half an hour to get them loaded up on a trailer.
So if it's not large enough and it's not enough horses or cows or whatever, then you may not call them.
Correct.
I'm just curious if they're
Correct. If it's something of a large magnitude or somewhere where we're going to need the presence and the assistance, then by all means, we're going to have them come out with us.
Because I would think considering they eat, drink, sleep, live that lifestyle and have their life related to horses in that way in all capacities, that they would be a extremely beneficial tool on a regular basis for you guys. So I guess I don't know why you guys wouldn't be using them more frequently, and a lot of them might be a lot closer to where the item's happening than at headquarters. I don't know where you're based out of, but
I'm everywhere. Are you guys tired? They put in so many hours. They're just great. But you are absolutely right. They can be utilized. We can go on more patrols and stuff like that in the area, which they always want to hit the trail system. And
Or is there anything we can help, this council can do to help make that or facilitate that in a better way? Do you want a resolution or something? I mean, I don't, I'm here to help get the community as much protection as quickly as possible when needed. So I'm not saying you're not doing a great job, but if you're downtown on 25th Street or somewhere, and you've got a resident out here that's part of that posse, hey, there's a phone call. He can be there in 5 minutes. You're going to be 30.
I can be here in 2 minutes. I live right across the street.
Okay.
But
Well, we appreciate
no, let's,
that.
all you have to do is request us from Captain here in the district, and she will get us there. It could be minutes notice, and we'll have Don Maines send out a blanket text and email to everybody, and we'll get, you let us know how many you want, and we'll accommodate you.
Okay, well, I mean, not just for us, for our use, but I mean for you all's use as far as investigations and getting them, if you need somebody to check on something. It's, I just see it as a tool that I guess you're not using ultimately to the best ability that you could.
And they're very capable of doing that.
So,
Great. Sergeant Marks, listen, thank you, and I see Don back there and members of that volunteer organization. I can tell you that I've personally not only been involved with as a personal association, when I say a personal association, a professional association, where they came out to my workplace on a couple different occasions, and they were just absolutely wonderful. Not only did it act as a visual deterrent, but those that were there were just enthralled with the horses and the attitude and the demeanor of your wonderful volunteers, and they do make a difference, and they were terrific. They provided some very important support under the circumstances that existed, but they were great. But we want to thank you for taking the time.
Thank you all.
It's great to see you, and hopefully we see you sometime in the future. Thank you, Sergeant.
thank you.
Okay, item number 7, public comment.
All speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Public comment will last for 30 minutes. All comments must be on non-agenda items. All speakers must fill out a request card prior to speaking. All speakers must state first name, last name, and mailing address. Speakers will be called in the order the request cards were received. Request cards will only be received until the first 5 minutes of public comment have concluded.
Mayor, we only have 3 speakers tonight. If anyone else wishes to speak, please submit your cards now. Seeing none, the speakers are Newell Hollingsworth, Bob Hartman, and John Eastman. What? Mike, did you submit?
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue.
And Mike Hanley is on there too, sorry.
I have about 45 minutes, but I'm only going to take one subject. Tuesday night, the budget workshop. I was extremely disappointed with the style, format, and lack of substance that took place at that meeting. My belief, as in previous years, this is where the budget was presented in its wish form by the administration. What I got was a very thick book, which had very few pages in it with actual numbers, and those were bunked up into puddles of money. After the meeting, I was approached by Andy, our town administrator, and says, I'll sit down with you and we'll go across all of the numbers and I'll explain what's in each of these. I shouldn't have to sit down with him. All the numbers should be there. When you put down $380,000 for a project, you should say what is going to be encompassed in that project, or how many projects that's going to encompass. When you say $100,000, you should say what projects are going to be covered by that, or expenses. We have areas that have been combined into puddles instead of separated out into numbers. This budget that is presented, and I saw at the workshop, and I tell you that it was the first time that I'd seen it that night. I hadn't had time to take a look at it because of other obligations. I still haven't looked at it because I haven't calmed down, because I was so upset that it reminded me of our first administrator's budgets. And Mr. Mayor, you will remember sitting at a dining room table trying to figure out those budgets. And I see the exact same style in this budget's put forth. A lot of fluff and a few pages of numbers. All of the writing meant nothing. The numbers, the line items. I want to see the budget with the line item numbers. And when you say infrastructure projects is so much money, I want to know what projects and what the funding is for each of those projects, not a bulk number. I've asked for that before. I got my property notice the other day in the mail. I took a look at it. On the assessments, you up there said how much 30% of this is going down. May I have another 2 minutes? 30% we're going down on the garbage. We got a cheaper contract for the pickup. Well, you gave with one hand and you took away with the other hand because you upped the fire service fee. My total savings for all of the assessments for this year is $1.03. Thank you very much for the savings. That is not acceptable at all. Not when you sit up there and you were talking all these fancy numbers of 30% cheaper contract for pickup. Bulk actually went up this year, pickup. And if you're saying it's because we're having higher amounts of bulk pickup, that is because the town has not done its due diligence in getting those that are putting out 40, 50, 60 yards at a time, 20, 30 pieces of furniture at a time on the same property. I have sat there and measured my bulk to make sure I did not go over the amount. 12 foot this way, 6 foot this way, don't go over 6 foot high, which is right about eye level for me. And then cut and trimmed so it's square. And I see people throwing stuff the entire length of their property 6, 8 foot high. And here comes the bulk truck around and picks it up. Well, we had a problem because we didn't get good service from our provider. And everyone was saying, well, that's left over from the last time, and I've got 12 and 12 because they didn't pick up the time before. Well, that's finished. You have gone up on the price of bulk to each homeowner. I don't remember having that discussion in this council, that you were increasing the price. Either that or I sound asleep back here in the chair, but I don't remember sleeping either. Thank you.
Bob. John Eastman and Mike Hanlon.
Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 198 Terrace. I'm disappointed the sheriff didn't stay around because I had a couple of points to make to him. As our new sheriff, and I'm glad we got rid of the old one because he wasn't getting the job done, but this sheriff is in his inaugural speech said, there will be change. All the newspapers published it. That was his kind of calling card in the beginning. Was first shot at his current budget that he inherited from the prior sheriff, and I think a lot of people felt that that sheriff had too much money and was really wasteful. He inherited a budget of $667 million. He immediately asked for a $94 million increase. He needs to take a page from small government like you guys. I hear what Newell is saying, but You guys have towed the line for the last, 3, 4 years, where taxes are not going up. The county commission has done the same thing. As hard as it is for them downtown, they haven't been raising taxes. Government throughout the state is trying the best they can to go easy on the taxpayers because there's a lot of people hurting. I don't have to tell you this. So then he came down. He came down to from 94 million to 34 million. He was able to just swag out 60 million bucks. I'd like to know how to do that. Now he's down to only a $7 million increase, and the unfortunate part is it seems that the majority of that money is going for former supporters, people that are going to be community outreach. He's hiring Roger Stone flunkies to go to work for him, and if you don't know who Roger Stone is, look him up. He's an interesting character. So, when it's your turn to negotiate with this guy, if he's willing to go from 94 to 7, what can you get? I'm giving you a personal challenge. For him to come in, I think our police budget's about $2.3 million. Is that pretty close? And he wanted to increase it 33%, give or take. So there's probably some reasonable amount that I'm sure you can all be comfortable with because elections are coming up, right? I want you to really sit down and go toe-to-toe with this guy. Do our deputies all need off-road vehicles? I've never seen one off-road. Now, they're great. This isn't about our deputies. This isn't about the uniformed deputies. This is really about his leadership. He needs to be a conservative, fiscal conservative. He has a massive budget. He wanted to go to $750 million, folks. Palm Beach Sheriff's Office is under $500,000, and it's a bigger county with just as many people. So hold the line, please. Thank you.
John Eastman.
John Eastman, 188th Avenue. Welcome back, Steve. Thank you. Newell's comments on the budget were a little harsh. I think things are coming along pretty good. I'm here tonight to talk about traffic. My area, in Country Estates in particular, 185th Way, 186th, 188th, and the 345 area, 190th Avenue. The volume of commercial traffic has just steadily, I don't know where these trucks are coming and going to. We need to get a handle on it. We have dozens of new families on the streets that have moved in after these foreclosures got cleared that all have young children. And the street is unsafe for kids on bikes the way it is now. I've requested select enforcement out there the last couple days because it's been mayhem. I'm on vacation right now, so I've been doing a lot of heavy yard work getting trees ready for hurricane season. I've been outside a lot, and I'm seeing this traffic and these people driving. The speeds are just incredible. We've got a few 16-year-olds that are causing some issues. Hopefully the sheriff can talk to their parents and get that squared away. 188th is designated no trucks. And I was talking to the deputy. He says, well, smaller trucks we can't really do anything about, but we have our share of 18-wheelers coming down the street servicing the nurseries at the end. We need some enforcement on that. Let's get that shut off. And I really think the council needs to look at going, and I hate to say it because I'm not a big zoning guy, but you need to go positive on the home truck issue because the abuse in my neighborhood is just incredible. We have a lot of at-home businesses that are running fleets out of their yard. And it's bad enough having the fleet in the yard, but you have the employees coming in to staff it and drive it in and out. So the area needs to be cleaned up as far as that goes. There needs to be strict enforcement on the one-truck policy. If a man is driving his work truck home, that's what he should do. He shouldn't be running a business off the property with employees. I had that next door to me for several years. It's gone, and my lifestyle has gotten incredibly better. We have a lot of neighbors that are enduring this right now. They want to be neighborly, but they're having this inflicted on them. And, we need peaceful, quiet enjoyment of our property. The traffic issue needs to be fixed. We've got 345 group of homes in there. That area is built out now. They need their own access. We don't want them on 188th anymore. The commercial traffic to the nurseries needs to be redirected across 63rd and down 185th out to Sheridan. The few homes that are down on that street are built way back, and they're mostly estate homes with full gates. So a little more traffic in front of their house is not going to affect them. But I appreciate your help with it, and I encourage you to keep the heat on BSO about the speeding. I'd like to see zero tolerance on our side streets. 25, they go 26, they get a ticket. I'm really over it. We've got too many kids out there. School's open now, and this speeding has to stop. And a lot of it's outsiders coming in that work in the area there. You know, it's not their neighborhood. They just don't care. So maybe we can get the gentleman with the badges to help them care a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mike Hanley?
Mike Hanley on 50th Place, right off the 205 Avenue, Southwest Ranches. Excuse me. I want to address, Mr. Councilman Bright Cruz brought this up a month ago about the stoplights on Griffin Road. I went east today. I got stopped at Bonaventure and Griffin. I adhered to the speed limit. I got stopped again at Weston and Griffin. No sooner did that light turn green, I got stopped on the top of I-75. Sat there and waited for that one. When it turned green, got stopped at Volunteer. This is BS. Okay, coming home, I go up Flamingo to avoid that. I got stopped at Volunteer. As soon as that light changed, I got stopped at the top of I-75. Sat there, got stopped again at Weston, and then stopped again at Bonaventure. That's if you adhere to the speed limit. I hope somebody here can address that issue and get those lights regulated. They seem to be extremely pro-Weston. Everybody gets to exit onto Griffin Road and makes it through all the stoplights. But if you're stopped on Griffin, you're dead meat. Secondly, I went to the council meeting at Pembroke Pines yesterday. Item 14 was a discussion of the charter schools. It was tabled. It said it was proposed, agreed to, and no discussion. I wanted to find out how many people were going to be in that charter school. It's going to be out on my understanding, east of 208, which is not even there yet. And they've already started excavation to put the road in. Now, it's my understanding that that road will only be utilized by clickers for the people in the trails of Pembroke Pines. So we in Southwest Ranches are stuck. We can't go south except 27 or coming way in to the east. If that charter school goes in and has 2,600 students, it's only a two-lane road from Bonaventure Boulevard on out to US 27. And the only access to that charter school is going to be US 27 and Griffin Road. Are we going to expand Griffin Road, make it 4 lanes, or is there some proposal to do that? Or are we going to be stuck again, only being able to go north out of Southwest Ranches, out in that area where 205, 202, and 199 are now closed? The people from the trails are going to be able to get out, but we can't, and they can go south, but we can't. We can only go north to Griffin Road, which is going to be full of charter school traffic, and it's my understanding they're putting in a stadium, so it'll be even effective on weekends. What a good deal. Is Griffith Road going to be expanded? Is Southwest Ranches going to just take this line down and have all this traffic from Weston, Southwest Ranches sucks, and Pembroke Pines gets their way? I'm done.
24, excuse me, Mike, 2,400 kids is what they're planning for, 2,400. Yeah. I agree. You're absolutely right. We hear you. We hear you. We hear you. Thanks, Mike. That's the last speaker, public comment. Thank you, Erica. That concludes item number 7, public comment. Board reports. Any members of the board that are here would like to update us or report on the wonderful happenings and accomplishments? Boards, we know that that's happening all the time. Seeing nobody wanting to comment on their boards, that concludes item number 8. Item number 9, council member comments. Gary?
Yeah, I'll start us off. Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief, just have a couple things. One is the Parks Board recently, and I thought Gay was going to mention this, but apparently she missed the boat. Anyway, we're scheduling the first hazmat pickup. It's going to be, the board voted for Rolling Oaks Park because of the semicircular drive where we can set up and the cars can drive through. And the details I don't know about yet. I just can tell you that much of it so far. And I know Andy's handling it. Andy, if you could touch on that when it comes to administrator comments, I'd appreciate it. The other thing is I've got a new experience with the light on I-75. I go through it every day, coming off of going westbound, coming out of the ramp. So I coming out off I-75, and I've asked Andy to talk to FDOT or whoever is responsible at this point, if we could have another possibly meeting here where we could discuss our concerns, because I think it needs to be in a public forum. But I had a unique situation where they allow the right turn on red as you're coming off of I-75 southbound to go west. The problem that they intended to fix, which was the right-hand turn, they solved that. However, they created some new ones, and the new ones are just as lethal, if not more. Worse. And yeah, I didn't want to say that, but you know, what a new experience is, because there's two lanes and only the right lane goes, the left lane stays. The person in the right, if they've got a high-profile truck in that lane waiting to go there, can't see oncoming traffic. Exactly. So here I come off I-75, and of course I'm not going 25 miles an hour. I'm slowing down, and I come over, and there's a large four-wheel drive truck and a car. Luckily, I could see under the truck and see the car inching its way out. And so I shot over in the next lane, and literally we would have T-boned, because the traffic can't get up to speed fast enough, you know, coming on that. And I expressed that to Andy, and I wanted to express that to FDOT, where I think the right turn on red needs to be a no-go in that area. It's just too dangerous, especially if your view is blocked. The other item I wanted to talk about was with the advent of the charter school going on out west, that want to have Andy look at, talk to traffic engineering about some of the items that Mike alluded to, if I may, Mike, regarding the possible four-laning of Griffin out there, or what their plans are for the future with the impact of that, if they could bring that to that. And the other thing, and Keith, maybe you can comment on this in your comments, and I don't know, maybe this is premature, possibly making, once that avenue is open, if it's feasible for us to make the gates permanent, take them off of the emergency clicker system and weld them shut. You know, what the liabilities of that and the legality, it's just a discussion item at this point. I'm just pointing it out. So that concern would be alleviated from Pembroke Pines standpoint. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Freddie?
Yeah, I don't have a lot. One question I'd like to maybe get an answer, because the most important, one of the most important people in my life keep answering me that question. When are we going to get the recycle bins? My wife keeps answering me, and I say, I don't know.
Just write that one down, Andy. It's part of the administration comments, yeah.
You're going to report it? Okay. Really, the question, I mean, the Fishing Hole Park is moving. It's moving kind of slow at times, but it's still moving. We're still looking for the first of the year, but that's all I got.
Thanks, Freddie. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. A few items. First of all, John, I appreciate you bringing up the topic of the traffic in your area. It was already on my list to talk about tonight. I want to make sure that everybody in that area is aware. We are planning a workshop to get the folks together out there to discuss that. We have solved a lot of traffic problems in this town. That is not one of them, and it's at the top of the list, and we need to get it done. So, Andy, if you could address that in your comments as well. We're looking to do that in September. Didn't want to do it over the summer when a lot of folks were out of town and on vacation. Wanted to wait for September, and that's the plan, is to get folks together and come up with a realistic plan for getting things done out there. As far as commercial vehicles, to be honest with you, that was not, I hadn't thought of that as being part of the workshop, but Andy, I'd like to include that. I don't, be honest with you, I don't understand it, because I think we do have a significant ordinance in our town to govern that. It's not, I don't think it's something that the council needs to do to come up with a new law or a new ordinance. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. If we do, we can do it. But I think it's already there. I think, I want to understand what the challenge is in enforcing that law, because it seems like it's already there, and it should be something that we can, we should be able to resolve. So.
Put code enforcement and Keith on it, I'm sure they'll fix it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that.
Maybe it's something we add.
Well, I
add
think
to the
that
list.
should be something we talk about in that workshop, because frankly, it's, to me, it falls under the category of things that should be proactive. I'll just flat out say it. I think it should be. What good is a law in town? You can have all the best laws in town, but if they're not going to be enforced, what good is it? So,
Just the one thing,
I'll permit it. I mean, we violated just for information, John, but go ahead.
this needs to be proactive, because you have issues where you've got a neighbor on both sides, and they don't want to be the one to call on their neighbor.
Absolutely.
But yet they're enduring this.
Absolutely.
And it's just one more thing. It needs to go proactive, and it needs to be enforced. And Bergeron has a big lot down there. If you want to park your fleet, you can go down there and do it. And keep your traffic and your employees out of our side streets and our neighborhoods.
Right. Good. Thank you, John. I agree, because as you just said, what happens with this particular one in a reactive session or the situation is that you have neighbors that have to, it becomes a neighbor war, is what it becomes. Do you want to start a war, or do you want, peace in your life? That's kind of like your choice. So, so I appreciate you bringing that up, John. We are definitely going to have the workshop, and we'll get that.
Steve, if I can join you
top
just
priority.
a second
Sure.
with part of that as a discussion. I've been dealing with that for years now, with the neighbor stuff, and they call me, and I personally put in a complaint or something like that, so just to keep them out of the mix. So, but that's been the only way really to address it,
Right.
and it somewhat gets addressed, but
Right.
I just
Well,
want to share that with you.
I think, let's just put it this way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it's broke, so we need to fix it. So, as far as traffic on Griffin Road, I could not agree more on the disaster it is. I don't think I've ever promoted one of my articles that I wrote in DRW from this podium before, but I'm going to promote this one. I wrote it. I actually had, Gary, that exact example that you brought up tonight, because it happened to me as well. I would encourage you to read that article. I would encourage you to copy it and, let other people see it. It is a disaster what they're doing there. I stand by on this podium saying that it is more hazardous now than it was before what they did. And it is dangerous. I've seen more accidents. I've seen more backups. I've seen more wasted time. You can sit on going east on Griffin Road, and now what happens is this. You get stuck at that new light they just put in, and what happens is all three lanes start filling up with people that all want to go north on I-75, and then it's a little drag strip from that light to get to that, who can get first onto the turn lane to go north onto I-75. And I've seen more close accidents there, because everybody knows that there's that little piece of real estate, and they all want to be first in line. It's a freaking disaster what they did out there. And I'll just tell you that my conclusion for the article, I don't want to give away the article because it's a great article, but I'll tell you this, that this is the conclusion, is that if they did that job, I see no positives to that whole project. And if they did it for jobs, good for them. Put the guys back to work and put it back the way it was. It's a disaster. The last thing I wanted to touch on was we've got the comp plan board did a lot of work on the land uses for a lot of areas around town for commercial. They did an incredible amount of work on that, trying to put the limits on what it would be for commercial. And I know we brought it here. We had some questions, and it's kind of languished. I haven't heard anything about it. Well, there's some activity in our town that demands, we need to get that thing back. We need to get it back. We need to vote on it. We need to make that, discuss it, make sure we're comfortable with it, and if we are, we need to make it happen. Because it's right now, it's just languishing out there, and frankly, it's an important piece of legislation we need to look at. So, thank you.
Very good, Steve. Thank you. Doug?
Yeah, just a couple of things on that traffic light deal. The timing for left-hand turn, it turns red when there's nobody in the left-hand turn lane. So I don't know if they've been out there, so I'm on board with that. But I also feel and think that those of us that can make it to Tallahassee this year would be greatly appreciated, because I'm not confident that that park and ride is erased off the map yet. I know it's not funded and it's not there, but we need to make sure that it's gone and never comes back. So I would greatly appreciate those of you that can make it and are willing to go to Tallahassee for Broward Days to see who we can meet with, whether it's transportation or whoever, and make it abundantly clear for the second year in a row that we don't want it, we don't need it, and other people do. So. Go ahead.
Can I jump in just for a second?
Absolutely.
I agree with you 1,000%. And I think the one thing that we might ought to do in preparation for that is I think we have the support of some of our neighbors in that, and maybe even some potential places to relocate that.
Okay.
And I think we ought to do a little homework, Andy.
Let's
on
ask
that.
Andy to
So that- yeah,
follow up with
exactly,
that. I'm on
exactly,
board.
so that we have real
I'm sure the whole
alternatives.
council's on board, but yeah, absolutely. Any preliminary stuff related with our neighbors in conjunction before Broward Days that we can take any steps at whatever meetings we need to and get it in stone and concrete any way we can, that it's not wanted, don't need it, and we want it gone. So greatly appreciate. Thanks for jumping in, Steve. Appreciate it. Other than that, I just want to thank everybody for coming out and participating, and thanks. You're what we're all about.
Ditto. Thanks. Thanks, Doug. Real quickly, I know you're familiar with what's going on behind Town Hall. We're all impressed, and the person that's responsible for that's out there on a daily basis, tending to it, to making sure that it is what it is. It's a unique and special place, and there's some neat things that you're cultivating out there, December. So, listen, on behalf of the council, because it is yours, and you're like the mother hen tending to your chickens, and those plants and a variety of plants are your chickens. And we want to make sure that
Everybody knows it.
that's right, that property out there is designated as such. So, on behalf of the vice mayor, council, Andy, and the rest of us, we've got a little something for you to put out there, and it's December's Garden. And maybe if we can go down there and get a picture with this, that would be great. Come down there and give it to you. We want to stake out your territory, too. We want to make sure it's designated. Love it. That's a snapshot. This is a photograph. That's a good one. That's what I did.
I'm trying to get you. Big smile now. December's the only one with a big smile. Perfect.
okay, it's the right thing to do.
The bang on his door, I hope.
That concludes item number 9, council member comments. Item number 10, legal comments.
Sure, Mayor. Where do I begin?
We got all night.
Yeah, just to give a quick update on things that happened this week. New Testament Church filed a DOA action against the town. That means that they are going to the state to claim that the town's land use category or land use decision to limit the amount of plot coverage that all non-commercial, non-residential units, including government, can build was invalid. They'll be surprised when I respond that under the statute, they had to do that 30 days after your ordinance was adopted. So the fact that it was approved in February and they filed it in August is a whoops by their attorney who's never filed a DOA hearing before. So we will respond accordingly to that. In the good news portion of it, you know, there's some funny things. New Testament Church actually filed 3 cases against the town: the DOA hearing, a writ of certiorari, and a declaratory action. The writ of certiorari was immediately thrown out. Why was it thrown out? Well, inadvertently, when you all did the agenda that night, you may remember the land use item was put under the quasi-judicial section. So the attorney who's never dealt with that before filed a writ of certiorari that you can only file in a quasi-judicial action. And the judge, without us saying anything, looked at it and said, this is land use, it's not quasi-judicial, and dismissed that immediately. So we're down with 2 actions now on them, a deck action and the DOA. DOA will be dismissed, there's no doubt in my mind, so that will be gone. The runway case is gearing up for a summary judgment. That's the one we've been monitoring, but we're parties who we have to go and watch, and that's happening. The junkyard where the guy's piling up the cars out west, we spoke to him today, and I said, listen, we're either going to default you out because he never responded to the complaint, or you can remove the cars immediately. He said, well, I'm going to remove them by next Friday, and then I'm going to just give my house back to the bank because I can't afford it anymore anyway. And I said, okay, as long as you remove the cars, you know. The bank wasn't really my issue, but give you a heads up on that. The barn easement case where the horse is buried in the back, that's going to a special hearing. If anyone doesn't know any of these cases, I'm going real quick. This all happened this week. Stop me and I'll tell you the case. There's a horse that's buried in the backyard. They piled manure above it. The horse died of natural causes. It wasn't a crime. And we're still trying to get back there. The court has not allowed us on the property yet to get the horse off, and we're still working on that. I had a meeting with Pembroke Pines today, a legal meeting to discuss a lot of the issues. Councilmember Jablonski asked one that was actually discussed at the meeting. The trails have once again lawyered up, even though their road is being built, you know, and it's actively being built out there. They're demanding, you know, all sorts of things as relates to the gates, including they want our transponder maintenance schedule, a list of every times it's used, our testing procedures, you know, how often we test it, who tests it, you know, their background for testing. And between us and Pines have gotten a litany of requests. So I'm pretty sure that we're on the same page with Pines, and this was openly discussed, that once the road is complete, it looks like everyone's going to want those gates permanently closed. Because if they're permanently closed, then there can't be these questions about, you know, would it open in the event of an emergency? Instead, everyone will know they can never be open, so you'll have to find an alternative way no matter what. So that was discussed today, so I wanted to throw out that as well. In regards to code enforcement, you brought up the commercial vehicles. That's always been an issue in the town the last 14 years that I know. If the council says proactive it's proactive. It's that simple. I want to make it clear to any resident who this bothers them, and I know John Eastman mentioned it, was it John who mentioned it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was John. That code enforcement and complaints can be anonymous. So if anyone is worried about themselves, turning in a neighbor and this is a major issue to you, code enforcement complaints can be anonymous. You do not have to give your name. That's what the law states. So you can absolutely call the town and say, this is the issue, and it can be done that way. So I just want people to know that. In regards to,
Keith, can
Yeah.
I I apologize to interrupt. I'm just wondering if that is, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that it's the law. I'm not sure that that's the policy. And I think we need to make sure that our policy is in line with the law.
well, if something gets called in, they have to check it out. They're not-
I'm telling you that I'm not sure that the policy is in line with
I'll
what
make
you're
sure
saying.
that Robert's following the law on that.
I think he's probably right.
Yeah, that violates the law.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think it ought to be.
Andy?
Yeah, that clearly violates the law. It's probably kept a lot of complaints down, but it does violate the law. Obviously, we were thrilled to see, Andy and I, that the sheriff was here today. You all, as a council, are going to have very difficult decisions to make in the future as it relates to law enforcement services. There's no doubt, just like fire, you have an exemplary organization that's covering you. The biggest problems that you're going to find is a lot of the issues, whether anyone admits it or not, are being driven directly by Weston. And Weston is so superior to the town in terms of the dollar amount that they spend on services and how much they can spend on services, that they're driving a lot of this, because although we would think that police services should be regionalized in Cooper City's BSO and Southwest Ranches and Weston, and we should all really pool our resources together to create, wonderful police protection for everyone, Weston is essentially taking the same exact position that it took in relation to fire services, which was, if we do this contract and we do this, stellar agreement where we're going to provide X number of personnel, we don't want them ever to go into Southwest Ranches. And that is exactly, to me, it's deja vu, because I feel like I'm dealing with the exact same issue that we had before. And when a neighboring municipality is sort of dictating the fact that we don't want to share services, the mayor and I were there when they basically told us we're never going to send a fire unit into your municipality if there's a fire, and we were sitting there like, seriously? But, if they're taking that position, it's going to be a very difficult negotiation. And what it's going to come down to, and the sheriff was absolutely correct, it's going to be a major price difference. It's not going to be a minor price difference. It's going to be major. And the reason is because thus far, and I want to make sure everyone knows so that they can start thinking, thus far, the sheriff's department in the negotiations, and the sheriff stated it again tonight, they don't believe that we are adequately staffed in terms of our current staffing. And the sheriff stated again tonight that unless he feels we're adequately staffed, he's not going to put in jeopardy, his personnel. So although we've had the same staffing for 14 years, if the new sheriff believes that that's inadequate, that's where you're getting that major jump in service from, what was the increase? Almost $1 million increase. So there is going to be a major difference, and it's something that the residents and everyone's going to have to speak about and make a conscientious decision of. If anyone asks me questions, I'm happy to answer it. Please ask. And it's going to be a long negotiation on both sides, which is why I was glad everyone pinned down the start of it today, because the contract expires in a month, and there's, and it's because we haven't been contacted. It started in November. We've tried to deal with this, and now we're in August, and we still haven't been contacted. So I don't want anyone to think that we've been sitting on this. Andy is very well aware of it. I've seen him send countless emails to the people in charge to ask, and that's why we were in this situation. There's an item on the agenda tonight dealing with the Attorney General opinion, and I just want to give a preface to why that's on here. Davey asked for the same opinion. I believe that it's worthwhile when you all compare whatever you decide to do in the future to get a solid Attorney General opinion to make sure that what we're doing is proper. So we're sending out our own as well to clarify a little bit of what Davey did to make sure that the exact questions that we need answered are answered. So if anyone has any questions on those issues, I'm happy to answer them and go from there.
Listening to the sheriff and his, feedback, it almost seems like he's resigned to the fact that the current law essentially permits municipalities engaging in contractual relationships with law enforcement service with other municipalities. I mean, that's the impression that
We
got.
all believe that.
Yeah.
It's just getting that clarification because there are a lot of cities that do that. I hope everyone read the backup and understand this. What happened was the law changed in 1997, and every court opinion and AG opinion on this topic was prior to 1997. So we just want something in our hand to say, yeah, this is right, before we embark down that slope, and then I'd have to come back to you and say, wait a minute here, we need to do this, or this wasn't proper. One thing that Councilmember Jablonski asked the sheriff, you brought up, and I'm going to bring it up again, and it dealt directly with Weston, and the answer wasn't given, and it's a very important factor that I hope the residents understand, and I wrote it down, so I'm going to look at my notes for a second. But Weston is currently provided for free, 6 deputies and 2 sergeants and all of the related equipment to provide coverage to the unincorporated areas in West Broward. Many of these areas are directly adjacent to the town, Holiday Park and those areas. And many of those areas are nowhere near Weston, and they actually would be much better served by being dispatched by Southwest Ranches than Weston because of the proximity to the town. When you look at the numbers that we were given, the sheriff's study shows that 27% of all calls that they get in an unincorporated region are south of Griffin Road, 27%. So if you just do the simple math and understand that sometimes our deputies, 1, 2, however many we have, are going to address those calls, at 30%, 27%, they should be giving us 3 officers without question, to cover the unincorporated areas. And to make a statement, well, Parkland's going to ask for it, and all these cities are going to ask for it, if they're using their personnel to respond to unincorporated areas, and they're doing things for the county should be supplying them with additional personnel to answer those calls. So, the prior sheriff organization understood this, and actually all of the previous proposals had, I think they offered Andy 2, that they were going to reassign from Weston. But now all of a sudden, the negotiations with Weston have started, and you heard that tonight, we're not giving you any. And these are going to be major factors in the discussions and negotiations, and we'll keep you fully posted on it.
Thank you, Keith. Okay, that concludes item number 10. Item number 11, administration comments. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and I'll be brief tonight, but I'll start off with just adding on to Keith's comments. And I will tell you that I believe that we have an outstanding working relationship with the BSO district personnel that we have here. I think the world of them. I think they do an outstanding job for our community. But to go further, I will say to you that I'll be polite, and I'll say that I've seen disinterest from downtown on our negotiations. Completely and total disinterest. There's just been no activity from them. The only thing that they really have made clear to me, and I will say that BSO downtown has made clear to me that Weston has been adamant in the comments that Keith reiterated for you, that they're just flat out not interested in sending their personnel over here, and they're obviously a much bigger contract, and the Weston has I'll say it has the attention of the BSO brass at the present time. So it creates a challenge for us. Just a couple other things. There was a discussion on the household hazardous waste as part of our new contract with Sun Bergeron for disposal. We will have quarterly household waste and excess bulk, et cetera, material collections. The first one, I know Sandy's been working on that, is actually scheduled for October 26th, and it'll be in Rolling Oaks Park. And obviously, the details on that, we'll roll that out with exactly the times and the procedures, but we wanted to have sufficient time to really make our residents aware of it. So we've had inquiries for things like tires and other things. We're going to bring that here to our town on a quarterly basis to make it easier for our residents. Following on that, Councilmember Fisickelli had asked about the recycle bins, and it was actually our, I'll say, hope and expectation that those recycle bins would be out this week or next. The manufacturer has been backlogged with a lot of orders. I think as that grant funding got out from the county that's paying for those, I think they've been a little bit overwhelmed, and it looks like right now we're actually scheduled for the week of September 2nd, which would be the Labor Day week. So we're not that far behind, but we're just a little bit behind on that. There was a lot of comment tonight from the council and from the public on the lights along Griffin Road. And I'll just say to you that I actually do have a meeting set up with Broward County Traffic Engineering, which is about 2 weeks out, on a different topic. But certainly, I assure you that I'll broach this with them, and if we could bring them in here and have them come in maybe one night for one of our council meetings so that they could hear kind of firsthand what some of those issues are, I'd certainly be happy to do that. Two other things. On the code complaint issue and whether those code complaints can be anonymous, I will certainly verify with Robert what the policy and procedure has been, and if we're doing something incorrectly as I sit here now, I can tell you that this time tomorrow that will be corrected. The Vice Mayor had spoken about a traffic workshop that I know he wants to have for that, the community. I would say, I guess they meet between Rolling Oaks and really out to the gates, that kind of everywhere in between, out around Fishing Hole Park and behind there. And he and I have talked about scheduling that for September. And Vice Mayor, if you and I can talk after the meeting tonight, I have an aerial that I'd like to show you, and maybe we can pick a date so that we get that information out and start letting people know exactly when we'll have that scheduled. And the last thing is your article in DRW Magazine, and I saved this to the end because they didn't want anybody to walk out, but if anybody wanted to pick up a copy of that, there are copies of DRW Magazine on the table opposite the conference room. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good, Andy. Thank you. Okay, that concludes 11 administration comments. Item number 12. Erica, read for the record.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, authorizing the town administration to accept an Urban Area Security Initiative Program grant to purchase radios and satellite phones for emergency use in the amount of $16,655 with no required town match, authorizing the town administrator to enter into the agreement and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Erica. Andy?
Yeah, Mayor, what this is a grant that has no town match, which allows us to receive 3 satellite radio phones, which would be only used in the event of severe emergencies when regular phones and cell service is out. It allows the town to have communication capability, and once again, there is no town match. Emily McCord has certainly the specifics if there are detailed questions from council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Motion is second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, public comment is now closed. Any additional question, comments, or concerns from the council? Seeing none, we have a motion is second to approve. Call the question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Item number 13.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving an agreement between Broward County and the Town of Southwest Ranches for participation in the Consolidated Regional E911 system, authorizing execution and providing an effective date.
Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. Keith?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in, then Andy's can take over. This is the agreement with the county that we all asked them to fund E911, and they finally agreed to fund it. We believe, and all of the city attorneys believe collectively, that it is a requirement of Broward County to provide this funding, that it's within their charter specifically, and that they can't get out of this requirement. So the vote was tight on the county commission, but they finally agreed to fund it. This is the agreement that they want everyone to approve prior to October 1, which basically says we're going to participate in allow you to handle our police calls, when they come in, the consolidated police calls. There is a problem with a lot of the cities, not a lot, some of the cities like Pembroke Pines and Sunrise and others that have their own E911 system, and it doesn't affect Southwest Ranches, but the coverage that they would be getting under this agreement is much less than the coverage that they currently have in terms of response time. So a lot of cities have a lot of issues. Another major issue that came up today in City Attorney Conference is that the county in this agreement snuck something in on page 3 in a whereas clause. And what they snuck in here, and it's a few whereas clauses down, it says, whereas the parties to this agreement acknowledge and agree that except for the unincorporated area of Broward County, county does not have the legal obligation to financially support police, fire, and emergency medical service dispatch within the municipalities and the county. Okay? So what they were trying to slide in until someone caught it was by signing this agreement that they can come back at a later date when they say we don't have money to fund this anymore, and then they're going to say to you, what do you mean? You signed a document, municipality, that said that we don't have the legal responsibility to do it. You can't now sue us now claiming that they had the legal responsibility to do it. So the reason why I share this with you is those cities who are approving this agreement, and there are some that are not, most will, are doing it subject to the removal of that clause because that is not an issue that's being litigated today, and no one should have to make that decision at this time. So I'm recommending, and I'm sure Andy would too, that you approve the agreement, but you do it subject to the removal of that whereas clause.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the removal of that clause.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve exempting that one whereas clause. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Newell?
Newell Hollingworth, 199th Avenue. Is there anywhere in this document that allows them to come back later and charge us? If there is, reject it. If not, you can go ahead and approve it. Anywhere in this document where they have any option to come back and try and charge us. Thank you.
You don't trust them, Newell? I mean, they have in their voluntary agreeing. Any other members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no further public comment is now closed. Council, you have a motion and a second to approve exempting or taking out the one whereas clause. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, call the question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, item number 14.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, joining the contract communities litigation against Broward County relating to the distribution of assets of the Broward Solid Waste Disposal District and waiving the conflict resolution procedures set forth in Chapter 164 Florida statutes and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, we had spoken about, and I'm jumping in on Andy on these because the next, I think, 3 are all legal. So I'm going to just jump on it, Andy, and if you want to strangle me later, it's okay.
Like I said, Andy, wait till you see my sign for Keith. We'll have a
Yeah.
lot of fun with it.
Yeah. In regards to this one, I've spoken to you all about this several times. This is the 26 municipalities that have filed litigation against Broward County for 27. We're the 27th, right? 26 other ones.
To correct you,
Yeah.
if you'll allow me.
we're the
There are
27.
26 municipalities that were partnered in the agreement. There are 17 that are in the litigation at the present time.
Right, so far. Remember, all of them were involved in the Resource Recovery Board, and we all paid in for a very long time. We've determined that the county has pocketed hundreds of millions in assets that they're required by law to distribute to the municipalities. So of the 26 municipalities who are part of this agreement in Broward County, yes, 17 have already filed suit, 2 more are looking to file suit. All of the big ones have filed suit, which are Fort Lauderdale and the heavy hitters. So what this resolution does is it seeks to allow the town, or essentially Weiss Serrato is handling the litigation, to add the town to their list of who they're representing in this litigation. The town would be required to pay its proportionate share of the litigation, we are a dot on that, on the surface of that. So the financial exposure is very minimal in terms of the litigation, but the reward could be substantial. And as a result of that, we're recommending that the town join the other municipalities in this. And do you have something to add?
Yeah, just, I want to add, the cost, the lawsuit litigation cost would be divided among the participating municipalities based on their tonnage. We were in that overall total less than 1% of the total. So for us, the actual cost, our financial risk here to join into this lawsuit is certainly minimal compared to the potential return.
Okay. One quick question, Keith. If we don't join this lawsuit and they're successful, why wouldn't we benefit? Because, we've contributed and have been a part of this.
Excellent question. The Resource Recovery Board ended in June 1st, July 1st. Sorry, July 1st. I'm trying to remember the date. So they were the ones who were required to distribute the assets. So there are two theories of thought when we spoke to Weiss Rota. There was a joint meeting, Mayor. I think you were at one of them, definitely. Is that in the event that the county settles, it's going to be a settlement agreement in court because there's no Resource Recovery Board anymore. And that court agreed to settlement will only be the parties that are involved in the litigation. Because there's a court-ordered settlement to pay to those parties. So it's essentially a class action, so the class gets paid, but if you're not part of the class, you don't get paid.
One more question. In evaluating, what initially was offered and the difference between potentially what could be awarded as part of the class action suit, is there that much of a differential, potentially?
Yeah, if working from memory at this point, Mayor, the county, which is now serving in effect as the Resource Recovery Board, has based their distribution based on about $250 million in assets. It's the belief of certainly Jamie Cole, who's handling litigation, and the municipalities who've brought in the overall assets that may be available for distribution could be double that or even 3 times that $250 million.
It's
So
well over $100 million right now from what they found.
Say that, 100, what did you say, 100 million?
It's over $100 million from what they found now. It's stated in the resolution how that breakdown is. And that does not even include the land value of the Montefiore site. So what is the value of that
1%
site?
of 100 million is not inconsequential.
Our percentage
No, that's
here
what I'm
is
saying. I
actually greater
understand. No, I hear what you're saying. But potentially 2, 3, or 4 times of what the Resource Recovery Board has offered to give us, per a settlement or an agreement. Okay. Answer my question. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no public comment is now closed. A motion is second. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the council? Seeing none, call a question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, item 15.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, adopting pursuant to Section 164.1052 Florida statutes, declaring the intent of the Town Council to initiate the conflict resolution procedure set forth in Chapter 164 Florida statutes. Finding that a conflict exists with Broward County as it relates to the percentage assigned to the town when calculating the distribution of the Resource Recovery Board assets, directing the town administrator to prepare and to forward a certified copy of this resolution and the required certified letter to Broward County and other governmental units, namely the 25 other contract communities, pursuant to Section 164.1052 Florida statutes, authorizing the appropriate town officials to take all steps necessary to effectuate this resolution, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, let me just explain this for the general public, because this one's actually kind of interesting to me. We discovered that for actually several years, and I'll state it, that the numbers were really not accurate as far as the waste distribution of the RRB. In fact, as it related to the town, we actually did well a couple of years because they assigned some of our waste disposal to Sunrise, and you know, it was hard to keep track as to whose waste was whose waste, you know, especially when the trucks were coming in and they were dumping it in the landfill. So as a result of that, finally, the personnel got better, and in year 2012, which was the last year of the RRB, they actually had the proper calculation. And as it related to the town, between 2011 and 2012, we doubled our tonnage of disposal. It worked out really well for the town, actually, because when we negotiated our contracts with Bergeron and Sun Bergeron, they only saw the numbers from the county, so they didn't know that our waste was really doubled. But it turned out that our waste was doubled what we had thought it was going to be. So it was a great windfall for the town. But their mistake did hurt the town in a little manner, and that relates to the RRB, because when they distributed the assets, they made their distribution on our percentage based on our 2011 percentage, even though we paid the proper amount in 2012. And if you look at the RRB contract, it says the county has to distribute, or the RRB has to distribute the assets based on the most recent numbers, the best numbers that they have. The difference to the town on just the first distribution alone is over $100,000, okay? Meaning that the town would have gotten $100,000 additional dollars had they used the proper numbers. Andy notified, and we notified Bertha Henry's office before they sent the first check of the error. And the reason why is because they originally sent the town a list showing the proper numbers, the 2012 numbers. Then all of a sudden, that was pulled, and the 2011 numbers got put in because a bigger municipality realized, well, we did better in 2011 than 2012, so they were swapping the numbers in and out. So we notified the county that the 2012 numbers were the most accurate recent numbers, which is what the agreement provided for. We need you to use the 2012 numbers. They ignored Andy's in our letters and Andy's emails completely. Andy then hunted down Bertha Henry at an ICMA meeting, manager's meeting, and he said to her, "Did you get my letters?" She looked at her aide there, and they said, "Oh yeah, Andy's been sending you some letters." And she said, "We'll get right back to you." That was 2 months ago. So, you know, I know the speed of the county is a little bit different than the town. So I met with Jamie Cole, who's handling the RRB litigation that you just voted on, and I said, we have another issue, and that is the distribution. If you get your $100 million, that's like, you know, $1 million to the town, or $500,000 to the town. It's going to make a major difference, you know, when you get your net award. And he said, "You're right." He goes, "You have a very good point that they used the wrong numbers." He goes, "But I can't add that to my litigation because Fort Lauderdale's percentage then drops and Sunrise percentage then drops, and then I have a major conflict on my hand because you're so right, everyone else is going to get impacted as a result of that." So after discussing this with everyone, we decided, you know what, we have to preserve this claim for the future, and the only way to do it is by slowing it down and just telling the county we have an issue with this, and see what happens with the other litigation before we resolve the percentage with the county. So in a long-winded, fun way, this is what this is about.
Mayor, if I may add to that. The original dispensation of the assets from the county, which the numbers that they distributed amounted to about $225,000 for the town. I will tell you that they actually sent us a check based on that, and before we could deposit it, they stopped payment on the check. Then they came back to us and said, "No, that's wrong. It's supposed to be based on the 2011 numbers." And as Keith said, those numbers were incorrect, were obviously not the most current numbers, and our $225,000 dropped to about $125,000. So just on this action alone, it's our intent to pursue that difference of $100,000. But this also dovetails into the item that you previously voted on, which is the litigation, which if the assets that the county is claiming they have and are being distributed incorrectly, our share could increase proportionally as well should we be successful on this action.
Thank you, Andy. We had a motion. I know, Doug, you made a motion.
I made the motion, Steve seconded.
Steve seconded. Okay. Got a motion and a second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing no, nice to see you, Dee. Seeing no public comment. Public comment is now closed. Motion and a second to approve. Seeing no further question, comments from the council. Call the question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, item number 16. This should be an easy one. We've already talked about this one.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, requesting the town attorney to seek an opinion from the Florida Attorney General confirming that the town, through an interlocal agreement, may contract with an adjoining municipality within the same county to provide law enforcement services to the town and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Again, we know about this one. Any members of the public wish to comment on this one? No public comment. Public comment is now closed. I know there isn't any further. Oh, I'm sorry, Gary. I apologize. Motion and second to approve. And Gary has a question.
Just a quick question to Keith. What's the turnaround from this point?
Well,
When would you have an answer?
Davy submitted its question 60 days ago. They haven't gotten a response yet. That's why I'm trying to get ours in quickly so that they mesh both opinions together, because I think Davy left out one element of the question. So I assume within the next 30 days,
Okay, just curious.
because it's generally 90, so.
Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You know, I think originally when we were looking at this, we were looking at it more from a negotiation standpoint or whatever, but I got to tell you, from what I heard from the sheriff tonight, you know, it sounded like
be a reality.
like a take it or leave it kind of thing. I think the negotiations are going to be very, very tough. You know, you guys really have your work cut out for you, but now I'm, you know, it certainly wouldn't be my first choice, but I think this takes on a whole new level of importance because it may be the only option we have.
Well, on the other side of that is, remember how fearful and how concerned we were with the fire transition and how elated and happy we are with the outcome. So hopefully if we go that way, we'll have the same results and be just as happy. So.
Good point.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Motion and second approved. Call the question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, item number 17.
Next item is a motion to approve CPZ Architect, notice to proceed for Rolling Oaks Barn improvements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have.
I don't know who's waiting.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's not a big deal.
It's all right. Andy, you want to, or Willie, who wants to?
Actually, I'll start this off.
Okay.
You want me to undo it and let him do it?
Now, as you recall, and we've discussed previously, the town staff is pursuing a design-build concept on the barn renovations. This is not to have our architects design what we're trying to do. This is to meet our procurement code and the state statute as part of the design guidelines that staff is putting together need to be reviewed by an architect, and the responses that come in, we need to have the architect help with that response. CPZ Architects is our architect of record. We have a continuing services contract with them. However, the terms of that contract call for council to approve any actions. Before we give them a task, you all need to vote affirmatively in order for us to do that. And certainly, staff is here for questions, should you have some.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andy. Do we have any comment from the public?
I saw a number at the back of the document for the total price. Is that going to be the guaranteed total price, or is that just the beginning opening number price? Number one. If it's the guaranteed price, fine. If it's not, go back and get a guaranteed price. The second thing is, what will this architectural plan cover? And the third thing is something I overheard Tuesday night, is that we accepted a grant for a barn. And this is a conversion design built on the barn. And it will no longer be a barn. What liabilities do we have on this grant of having to return the money since it's no longer going to be a barn? And I think that needs to be defined and answered before we spend money for plans for conversion from a barn to something else, which I don't even know what it's going to be yet. So I think you ought to very well take that under consideration, because you got a grant from Lowe's for a barn. Now, are either you going to give the money back if you have to? Are you going to consider that part of the construction costs? Because you got a couple of $100,000 in your budget, and I have no idea what you're spending it on for that barn, considering it was supposed to be constructed, the interior and everything, by volunteers, and a minimal cost. I don't understand. I need some explanation from this council and administration on this item. Thank you.
Was this originally, were we going to do an as-built? In other words, and now I see where it's, we're putting it out for an architect, and I thought it was going to be a design build.
That's what it is.
So why are we hiring an architect? Because usually the design build is in the responsibility of the one who wins the bid. They come up with the design, huh?
Drafting the bid.
The architect's helping draft the bid
Oh, okay.
for the
I'm
design
sorry.
build.
All right. Now, let me just, on the other side of this, we were going to have a barbecue pit, or let's say an open space. There was the bathrooms on the west side. There's a possibility of making one stall or a corral underneath that corner. It would be the southwest corner of that barn. Would that then address
Animal.
the animal aspect of it, if there's a problem with the roof or anything like that? Thank you.
Any other public comment? See no more public comment. Public comment is now closed. Keith, I see you have a comment.
Yeah, I'll speak real quickly to this. If anyone remembers the history here, the barn was collapsing, completely collapsing. The roof was collapsing. The town had no money in its budget at all to salvage the roof of that barn. So as a result of that, and a code enforcement action we had against Lowe's, we entered into a settlement agreement with Lowe's that they would essentially provide the town with, at cost, essentially the supplies, the materials, and some money to fix the roof, to put it back into habitable shape. And PHI was willing to do it at the amount that we got from the grant. And so as a result of everything, we wound up with a roof on the barn, which was incredibly important at that time. There is a grant agreement, and ironically, this was so long ago that we just looked at it again the other day, and in the grant agreement, it actually spoke at that point about mounted patrol and whether or not they could use it, and horses for the handicap, and all these things that never came to fruition at all. Andy and Emily and I spoke the other day, and they're actively going back to Lowe's to try to amend the grant, essentially, and saying we're going to turn this into a community center because, even the mounted patrol is almost completely gone from BSO, so it doesn't even make sense anymore. As far as the maximum potential liability, $25,000. That was the amount of the grant. So if Lowe's is not willing to modify it, which I think they will, I think they're actually going to ignore us and look the other way completely. That's what I think. But in the event that anyone from Lowe's ever came back to us and said, wait a minute, there's no horses here, your maximum exposure is $25,000. So it's not like a major issue in relation to the barn. To clarify again, this architect that is helping out, Chris Zimmerman, who's your procured architect, is solely helping the town in drafting the bid specs for the design, the development of the barn, so that, and he's going to serve on the SC in accordance with Florida law, so that when architects and contractors bid on it, They're bidding on a document that specifically states everything that the town wants in it. It's a very important document. It's one that you all should actively work with Andy on before it hits the street to look at. Because we even had a conversation, and I'll say it now. I think that the price, eventual price, it may be shocking to the council, and that's why I know Andy's working diligently to make it a bare bones project, because it's a big barn. A lot of people don't stop to think how big that barn is. It's slightly over 10,000 square feet of space. So if you do the math, even if you can build it at $50 a square foot, $25 a square foot, you know, for just the shell, you're still looking at a considerable amount of money, you know, when it's all said and done. So I know Andy's diligently hitting the architect hard to try to keep it down, but the minute you turn that building into a government usable space, there's a whole slew of codes that you haven't even remotely started thinking about, from energy efficiency, which is a federal requirement, to handicap parking, to, you know, a whole slew of things that are going to be required to go in there before it could even remotely be converted. This is the first step, you know, to see and to get it on the street, so you all actually have a full knowledge of what it's going to cost to do everything. And then after looking at it, you all may say, you know what, let's do some of it now and some of it later, and you may phase it or parcel it off, but this is the first step.
Thank you, Keith. Freddie?
Yeah, Keith, maybe I'm losing something here. Why can't we leave it a barn? You know, I mean,
You can. That's a policy decision.
Huh?
It's a policy decision. I believe the council had already decided that it wanted to turn it into some sort of meeting rooms and community center.
well,
But that's a policy
can't you have meetings in a barn?
No,
Why not?
because it's a change of use. It's a government building. Not even that. It's a change of use. Once currently it's habitable for animals, and you would like humans to be there, under the federal law, it's a change of use. There's a million things that have to change.
In other words, if you build a barn and it's structural sound, you can't use it for anything other than horses?
It's whatever its approved use is when it got its CO. Even though it's structurally sound, there's different building requirements for a building that is utilizable by people, congregations, you know, groups of people, and a structure that's utilized for animals. It's just different building code criteria. I mean, Willie's here, he can address that, you know, question, but legally, it's different uses. It's different occupancy types.
You know, we're a rural town. It seems like it, you know, I know you can go to North Florida, you can go to probably parts in the state, and they do all kinds of things in barns daily, you know. But just because somebody's come up with this rule, who makes this rule? Is it in our building code? Is it go against our building code?
The Florida Building Code.
Huh?
Florida Building Code.
The building code says you can't use the barn for anything but horses?
It's a use type, and Willie, if you want to address how the use type works.
I mean, they build barns to store feed in. They don't have horses in certain barns. It seems like somebody's misreading something here.
Mr. Mayor, Council, unfortunately, I'm not real familiar with the type of mixed use that Councilman Fisichella is asking about, but I do know that when you have a use for residential, for example, the latest building code, which is 2010, have different technical criteria for a residential home than a commercial home than a government center. So depending on the use, certain aspects of regulations apply.
Just because the barn is owned by the city, we got different rules? Is that
No,
what you're
sir.
telling me?
If the building's being used as a barn, there are certain regulations, technical regulations you have to comply with. But if you convert that into a community area where different multiple people use that facility, then that building would have to be designed to a higher criteria.
I think somebody's reading something in here.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, got a motion and a second to approve. Call the question, please, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. I got an idea. We can all dress up as horses. There you go. That's even better, Mike. I agree with that. All
Well,
right.
because then we'll get locked up for ethics violations.
That's right. Item number 18, approval of the minutes for the August 8th, 2013 council meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Anybody out there have any disagreements with the minutes for the August 8th, 2013 meeting? That's a good thing. See no disagreement. We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the question, Erica.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember McKay?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
That concludes the meeting. I suspect that that's unanimous. This meeting is hereby adjourned.